The Great Pyramid of Giza rises from the desert like a monument to eternity itself, built over 4,500 years ago according to the mainstream timeline. It stands perfectly aligned with the stars, constructed with a precision that seems to defy explanation. The massive stone blocks, some weighing 15 tons or more, fit together with mathematical perfection that modern engineers still struggle to replicate. But some believe its secrets go far deeper than mere architectural brilliance. Picture yourself standing before this ancient wonder as the sun sets over the Giza plateau. The limestone blocks, weathered by millennia of desert winds, seem to hold their breath in the gathering twilight. Above, the same constellations that guided ancient Egyptian priests begin to emerge against the darkening sky. The pyramid's edges catch the last rays of sunlight, casting long shadows that have fallen in precisely the same pattern for thousands of years. This is not just a tomb, many researchers now believe. The absence of mummies, the lack of hieroglyphic inscriptions, the strange acoustic properties of its inner chambers all point to something more mysterious. Could this massive structure be a message left for us to discover? A code written in stone and starlight, waiting patiently for humanity to develop the knowledge and technology needed to decode it. Tonight, we explore a possibility that challenges everything we think we know about our ancient past. What if the Great Pyramid was never meant as a resting place for a pharaoh, but as a beacon, a transmitter, or perhaps most intriguingly, a message from visitors who came from somewhere far beyond our world? The pyramid speaks to us not in words, but in the universal language of mathematics, astronomy, and sacred geometry. As we journey into this mystery together, let the ancient stones whisper their secrets to you. Let your mind wander through corridors that have echoed with footsteps for over 40 centuries. For in the heart of this desert monument may lie the most profound communication ever left for humanity to discover. When archaeologists first entered the Great Pyramid in the 9th century, they expected to find what every other Egyptian tomb contained: elaborate wall paintings depicting the journey to the afterlife, golden treasures, and most importantly, the mummy of the pharaoh himself. Instead, they discovered something far more puzzling: empty chambers, bare stone walls, no hieroglyphs telling the story of a king's divine ascension, no canopic jars, no golden mask, just silence and shadow, as if the pyramid had been waiting in patient emptiness for thousands of years. Compare this to the tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered in 1922 in the Valley of the Kings. Every surface blazed with color and text. Thousands of artifacts filled chamber after chamber, from golden chariots to intricately carved furniture. The walls themselves were covered in spells from the Book of the Dead, guiding the young pharaoh through the dangers of the underworld. Protective amulets lay scattered around the mummy, each one inscribed with prayers and incantations. Sacred boats were positioned to carry the king through the celestial waters. Golden shrines nested one inside another, each layer adding protection for the journey to eternal life. This is what Egyptian tombs looked like. This is what they were meant to contain. Death was not meant to be empty in ancient Egypt, but surrounded by beauty, magic, and the promise of eternal life. The tomb of Seti I, carved deep into the rock of the Valley of the Kings, stretches for over 300 feet underground. Its walls are covered with the complete text of the Book of Gates and the Book of the Dead, painted in vivid blues and golds that still shine today. Every corridor tells a story, every chamber serves a purpose in the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The ceiling of the burial chamber is painted with a complete star map, showing the path the king's soul must take through the heavens. This is the Egyptian way of death: elaborate, colorful, filled with text and meaning. The Great Pyramid stands as a stark contradiction to this tradition. Its interior passages wind through the heart of the structure like arteries through a living body, leading to chambers that seem designed not for burial, but for something else entirely. The descending passage plunges down into the bedrock at a precise angle of 26 degrees, 18 minutes, and 9 seconds. This is not a random angle, but one that aligns with the pole star as it appeared in the sky over 4,000 years ago. The passage itself is so narrow that you must crawl through it, bent double, as if being born again into the heart of the pyramid. The grand gallery stretches upward at that same precise angle, its corbelled ceiling creating a space that resonates with acoustic properties unlike any burial chamber ever built. When you speak inside it, your voice echoes and amplifies in ways that suggest the space was designed to enhance sound, not muffle it. The ceiling rises in 7 courses, each one slightly overlapping the one below, creating a vault that seems to channel sound waves upward toward the king's chamber. The walls are polished to a mirror finish, reflecting not just light, but sound in patterns that create standing waves throughout the chamber. The king's chamber itself, where a pharaoh's sarcophagus should rest surrounded by treasures, contains only an empty granite coffer. But this is no ordinary stone box. Made from a single block of red granite, it was carved with such precision that its walls are smooth to within thousandths of an inch. The granite itself came from quarries 500 miles away in Aswan, transported by methods that remain mysterious to this day. The coffer was carved using tools that could cut through one of the hardest stones on Earth with the precision of a modern machine. The internal dimensions of the coffer follow mathematical ratios that appear throughout the pyramid's design, suggesting it was built not to hold a body, but to resonate at specific frequencies. Why would tomb builders go to such extraordinary lengths for a simple burial container that would never be seen again once the tomb was sealed? The answer may lie in the coffer's acoustic properties. When struck, it produces a deep, resonant tone that reverberates through the entire structure. The note it produces is F-sharp, a frequency that some researchers believe has special properties for human consciousness. The chamber itself is built with granite blocks that came from the same quarry, creating a resonance chamber that amplifies and focuses this tone. Even more intriguing are the shafts that lead from both the king's and queen's chambers. These narrow passages, only 8 inches square, angle upward through the pyramid's mass toward the outer surface. For decades, archaeologists assumed they were simply air shafts, designed to ventilate the chambers for the workers who built the pyramid. But recent investigations have revealed something remarkable. These shafts align with specific stars. The northern shaft from the king's chamber points toward the pole star, while the southern shaft aligns with Orion's belt. The shafts from the queen's chamber point toward Sirius and other significant stars in the ancient Egyptian sky. These are not random alignments. They represent a sophisticated understanding of astronomy that rivals modern knowledge. The builders knew exactly where these stars would be in the night sky over 4,000 years ago, and they oriented the shafts with mathematical precision. They understood precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that changes the apparent position of stars over thousands of years. They calculated not just where the stars were when they built the pyramid, but where they would be in the future. But why would a tomb need to point toward the stars, unless it was never meant to be a tomb at all? Some researchers have proposed that the Great Pyramid functioned as a resonance chamber, designed to amplify and focus certain frequencies. The granite coffer in the king's chamber, when struck, produces a musical tone that reverberates through the entire structure. The limestone blocks themselves seem to have been chosen not just for their durability, but for their acoustic properties. The pyramid sits on a bedrock foundation that extends deep into the earth, creating a natural resonance chamber that could amplify vibrations across vast distances. Could the pyramid have been built as a massive instrument designed to communicate across the cosmos itself? The precision of the pyramid's construction suggests it was built not just to last for millennia, but to function as a machine of some kind. Every angle calculated with mathematical perfection, every stone placed with purpose, every chamber designed to serve a function we are only beginning to understand. The tolerances are so tight that a human hair cannot fit between many of the stone blocks. This level of precision serves no purpose for a simple tomb, but it would be essential for a structure designed to function as a precise instrument. Modern engineers have discovered that the pyramid's internal temperature remains constant at 20 degrees Celsius year-round, regardless of the external desert temperature. This suggests a sophisticated understanding of thermodynamics that seems impossible for the supposed technology of the time. The structure acts as a natural climate control system, maintaining perfect conditions for whatever purpose it was designed to serve. The limestone blocks themselves seem to have been chosen for their thermal properties, creating a structure that breathes with the desert while maintaining its internal stability. The Queen's Chamber, located at the heart of the pyramid, contains features that have puzzled archaeologists for centuries. A niche in the eastern wall appears to have been designed to hold something specific, but what? The chamber itself is smaller than the King's Chamber, but its acoustic properties are even more unusual. Sounds made in the chamber seem to disappear rather than echo, as if the space were designed to absorb rather than amplify vibrations. Recent investigations have revealed that the chamber may have been designed to create a specific acoustic environment, one that could alter human consciousness in ways we are only beginning to understand. From tomb to tool, from monument to machine, the Great Pyramid challenges us to think differently about the intentions of its builders. If it was designed for something beyond burial, then the question becomes, for whom was it built and why? The answer may lie written in the stars themselves, in the mathematical constants encoded within its stones, and in the persistent whisper that echoes through its empty chambers, waiting for us to understand its ancient song. Perhaps the pyramid was never meant to house the dead, but to awaken something in the living, something that connects us to the cosmos in ways we have forgotten how to understand. In the early 1990s, a Belgian construction engineer named Robert Boval stood on the Giza plateau under a canopy of desert stars and noticed something that had escaped archaeologists for over a century. The three Great Pyramids of Giza, when viewed from above, matched perfectly the pattern of the three stars in Orion's belt. Not just approximately, but with mathematical precision that seemed to transcend coincidence. The smallest pyramid, Menkaura's, was slightly offset from the line formed by the other two, exactly as the star Mintaka is offset from Alnitak and Alnilam in the constellation. This discovery, known as the Orion correlation theory, opened a door into an ancient Egyptian worldview that saw the Earth as a mirror of the heavens. The Egyptians called Orion Sahu, the soul of Osiris, king of the underworld and judge of the dead. But they also believed Orion was the destination of the pharaoh's soul after death, the place where the king would take his throne among the eternal stars. If the pyramids were built to mirror this celestial kingdom, then they were not just tombs, but star maps carved in stone. The alignment becomes even more remarkable when you consider the precision required. The three pyramids are positioned across several miles of desert, yet their relative positions match the stars in Orion's belt to within a fraction of a degree. This level of accuracy would have required not just astronomical knowledge, but surveying skills that modern engineers would find challenging even with sophisticated equipment. The ancient builders somehow managed to translate a celestial pattern onto the Earth's surface with breathtaking precision. They would have needed to account for the curvature of the Earth itself, the atmospheric distortion of starlight, and the slow drift of stellar positions across centuries. Boval's discovery didn't stop with the basic correlation. He noticed that if you tracked Orion's position in the sky backward through time, using the phenomenon of precession, something extraordinary emerged. Around 10,500 BCE, the constellation of Orion reached its lowest point in the southern sky during its precessional cycle. This was exactly when the correlation between the stars and the pyramids would have been perfect, not just in horizontal alignment, but in the angle at which Orion crossed the meridian. The pyramids, it seemed, were built to commemorate a specific moment in deep time, a cosmic anniversary that occurred thousands of years before the first dynasty of Egypt. But the Orion connection is just the beginning. The Great Pyramid's internal passages and chambers are aligned with specific stars that held deep significance for the ancient Egyptians. The southern shaft from the King's Chamber points directly toward Alnitak, the southernmost star in Orion's belt, as it appeared in the sky around 2450 BCE. The northern shaft from the same chamber aligns with Thuban, the pole star of that era. These are not approximate alignments, but precise orientations that would have required sophisticated astronomical calculations and engineering techniques that seem impossible for the supposed technology of the time. The shafts themselves are marvels of engineering precision. Cut through hundreds of feet of solid limestone and granite, they maintain their exact angles without deviation. The southern shaft from the King's Chamber rises at an angle of 45 degrees, 23 minutes, while the northern shaft climbs at 32 degrees, 28 minutes. These specific angles were not chosen randomly, but calculated to point toward the targeted stars as they appeared during the pyramid's construction era. The shafts from the Queen's Chamber tell an equally intriguing story. The southern shaft points towards Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky and the most important star in the Egyptian calendar. The Egyptians called Sirius Sopdet, and they associated it with the goddess Isis, wife of Osiris. The heliacal rising of Sirius, when it first becomes visible before dawn after a period of invisibility, marked the beginning of the Egyptian New Year and predicted the annual flooding of the Nile. This star was literally the heartbeat of Egyptian civilization, the cosmic clock that governed their agricultural and religious calendar. The importance of Sirius to the ancient Egyptians cannot be overstated. They built entire temples aligned with its rising, timed their festivals to its appearance, and structured their religious calendar around its movements. The star was seen as the celestial form of Isis, the mother goddess who restored her husband Osiris to life after his death. In Egyptian mythology, Sirius was the star that guided souls to the afterlife, the beacon that showed the way through the darkness between death and rebirth. The northern shaft from the Queen's Chamber aligns with Kochab, one of the stars in the Little Dipper. While not as bright as the other stars targeted by the pyramid's shafts, Kochab held special significance as one of the imperishable stars that never set below the horizon. The Egyptians believed these circumpolar stars were the eternal home of the pharaoh's soul, the place where he would live forever in the company of the gods. These stars, which wheel around the celestial pole without ever disappearing below the horizon, represented eternity itself to the ancient mind. These alignments were not accidental. They required the builders to understand precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes the apparent position of stars to shift over thousands of years. The fact that the shafts point to where these stars were positioned over 4,000 years ago, rather than where they appear today, proves that the pyramid's builders understood this complex astronomical phenomenon. They were not just tracking the stars of their own time, but encoding the star positions of a specific era into the structure itself. The precision of these alignments raises profound questions about the level of astronomical knowledge possessed by the pyramid builders. Modern astronomers use sophisticated computers to calculate precession and stellar positions across millennia, yet somehow the ancient Egyptians achieved the same level of accuracy using tools we can barely imagine. They created a structure that functions as a three-dimensional star map, preserving the configuration of the heavens as it appeared at a specific moment in time. Some researchers have suggested that the pyramid's star alignments serve a practical purpose, acting as a kind of cosmic GPS system. If the structure were designed to send or receive communications across vast distances, these stellar alignments could serve as reference points, helping to aim transmissions toward specific regions of the galaxy. The constellation Orion, in particular, contains some of the most active star-forming regions in our local area of the Milky Way, places where new suns are born and where the building blocks of life are forged in stellar furnaces. The Orion Nebula, located in the sword of the constellation, is one of the closest star-forming regions to Earth, a cosmic nursery where new solar systems are born from clouds of gas and dust. The ancient Egyptians may have intuited something about this region that modern science has only recently discovered. The nebula contains the raw materials for planet formation, including water, organic compounds, and the heavy elements necessary for life. If an advanced civilization were looking for places where life might emerge in our galaxy, Orion would be a logical target. The ancient Egyptians' obsession with the stars went far beyond simple calendar keeping. They believed the stars were the destination of the soul after death, the place where the pharaoh would join the eternal gods. Their texts speak of the dead ascending to the imperishable stars, of souls traveling the paths of light to reach the celestial kingdom. The pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings in the world, are filled with references to stellar journeys and cosmic destinations. They describe the pharaoh sailing across the heavens in a solar boat, joining the crew of the sun god Ra as he travels through the underworld and emerges reborn each dawn. But what if these ancient beliefs were based on more than religious symbolism? What if the pyramid's stellar alignments were designed to facilitate actual communication with the stars? The shafts that point toward Orion, Sirius, and the pole star could have been designed as transmission channels, focusing energy or information toward specific stellar targets. The pyramid's position on the Earth's surface at 29 degrees, 58 minutes north latitude, provides an optimal viewing angle for these key constellations throughout the year. The alignment with Sirius is particularly intriguing when you consider that this star system has been the subject of unusual claims by the Dogon people of Mali, who possess detailed knowledge of Sirius B, a white dwarf companion star that cannot be seen with the naked eye and was not discovered by Western astronomy until 1862. The Dogon claim this knowledge was given to them by visitors from the Sirius system, beings they call the Nomos, who descended from the sky in a spinning vessel and taught them about astronomy and agriculture. While mainstream science remains skeptical of these claims, the precise alignment of the pyramid's shaft with Sirius suggests that ancient civilizations may have had reasons for focusing their attention on this particular star system. The Great Pyramid's stellar alignments create a kind of cosmic clock, preserving the configuration of the heavens as it appeared over 4,000 years ago. This suggests that the structure was designed not just for the people of its time, but for future generations who would need to understand when it was built and why. The pyramid speaks across millennia through the universal language of astronomy, using the stars themselves as its vocabulary. It creates a permanent record of a specific moment in cosmic time, a message that can be read by any civilization sophisticated enough to understand astronomy. As we stand beneath the same stars that guided the pyramid's builders, we can almost hear the ancient whispers carried on the desert wind. The pyramid points toward Orion, toward Sirius, toward the pole star, creating a map of the heavens written in stone. Whether this map was designed for religious purposes, for practical navigation, or for communication with distant worlds, it represents one of humanity's most ambitious attempts to connect Earth with the cosmos. The stars that shone down on the pyramid's construction continue to shine today, carrying the same message across the vast distances of space and time, waiting for us to understand the language written in light and stone. Hidden within the limestone blocks and granite chambers of the Great Pyramid lies a mathematical language that speaks across millennia. Numbers that govern the motion of planets, constants that describe the fundamental nature of reality, ratios that appear throughout the cosmos. These mathematical relationships are encoded so precisely within the pyramid's dimensions that they seem to transcend the possibility of coincidence. The question becomes not whether these numbers are there, but whether they were placed there intentionally, and if so, by whom. The most famous of these mathematical relationships involves pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. This fundamental constant appears in the Great Pyramid's basic proportions in a way that seems almost impossible for a structure built over 4,000 years ago. If you divide the pyramid's base perimeter by its height, you get a number that approximates pi to a remarkable degree of accuracy. The base of the pyramid measures 756 feet on each side, giving a total perimeter of 3,024 feet. The original height was 481 feet. When you divide the perimeter by twice the height, you get 3.14159, which matches pi to several decimal places. This level of precision is extraordinary for several reasons. First, pi is an irrational number, meaning its decimal representation goes on forever without repeating. The ancient Greeks, who are credited with the first mathematical definition of pi, lived more than 2,000 years after the pyramid was built. Yet somehow the pyramid's architects encoded this fundamental constant into their design with an accuracy that wouldn't be matched in Western mathematics for millennia. But pi is not the only mathematical constant hidden within the pyramid's stone. The golden ratio, represented by the Greek letter phi, also appears in the structure's proportions. This ratio, approximately 1.618, describes the relationship between two quantities where the ratio of the larger to the smaller equals the ratio of their sum to the larger. The golden ratio appears throughout nature, from the spiral of nautilus shells to the arrangement of seeds in sunflowers, from the proportions of the human body to the structure of galaxies. In the Great Pyramid, the golden ratio appears in the relationship between the slant height of the pyramid's faces and half the base length. The slant height measures approximately 612 feet, while half the base measures 378 feet. The ratio between these measurements is 1.618, the golden ratio to 3 decimal places. This relationship creates the pyramid's distinctive profile, the graceful slope that has captivated observers for thousands of years. The appearance of both pi and the golden ratio in the same structure raises profound questions. These are not simple geometric relationships that ancient builders might have discovered through trial and error. They are fundamental mathematical constants that describe the deepest patterns in nature and the cosmos. Their presence in the pyramid suggests a level of mathematical sophistication that seems impossible for the supposed technology and knowledge of ancient Egypt. Even more intriguing are the ways in which the pyramid seems to encode information about the Earth itself. The pyramid's base perimeter, when measured in the ancient Egyptian unit called the royal cubit, equals exactly the number of days in a year. The royal cubit, approximately 20.6 inches, was the standard unit of measurement used in pyramid construction. When you measure the pyramid's base in royal cubits, you get a perimeter that matches the length of the Earth's year to a precision that suggests the builders understood not just local geography, but the planet's orbital mechanics. The pyramid's dimensions also seem to encode the Earth's polar radius with remarkable accuracy. If you multiply the pyramid's height by 43,200, you get a number that matches the Earth's polar radius in miles to within a fraction of a percent. This relationship suggests that the pyramid's builders not only knew the Earth was round, but had measured its dimensions with a precision that wouldn't be matched again until the age of satellites and GPS technology. Perhaps most remarkably, the pyramid appears to encode the speed of light, one of the fundamental constants of physics. The pyramid's location on Earth, expressed in decimal degrees, is 29.9792 degrees north latitude. The speed of light in a vacuum is 299,792,458 meters per second. The correlation between the pyramid's latitude and the speed of light, expressed in the same numerical sequence, seems too precise to be coincidental. This discovery has profound implications. The speed of light was not measured by human science until the 17th century, and its precise value wasn't determined until the 20th century. Yet here it appears, encoded in the geographical location chosen for the pyramid over 4,000 years ago. Either this is the most extraordinary coincidence in human history, or the pyramid's builders possessed knowledge of physics that we assume was unknown to ancient civilizations. The mathematical relationships don't stop with individual constants. The pyramid's chambers and passages contain proportional relationships that mirror fundamental ratios found throughout the cosmos. The king's chamber, for example, has interior dimensions that follow the Pythagorean triangle ratio of 3, 4, 5. This relationship, which forms the basis of right triangle geometry, appears not just in the chamber's proportions but in the positioning of the chamber within the pyramid itself. The grand gallery, with its precisely corbelled ceiling, has dimensions that create harmonic ratios similar to those found in musical scales. The length of the gallery relates to its height in the same way that musical notes relate to their harmonics. This suggests that the pyramid may have been designed not just as a visual monument, but as a resonant structure that could produce specific acoustic effects. The mathematics of harmony, first described by Pythagoras centuries after the pyramid was built, seem to have been understood and applied by the pyramid's architects. Even the number of stones used in the pyramid's construction appears to be mathematically significant. Estimates suggest the pyramid contains approximately 2,300,000 individual blocks. This number, when expressed in certain mathematical relationships, produces values that correspond to astronomical cycles and cosmic constants. The precession of the equinoxes, the cycle that causes the slow drift of stellar positions over thousands of years, can be calculated from ratios derived from the pyramid's block count. The precision of these mathematical relationships raises questions about how they were achieved. Creating a structure that encodes multiple mathematical constants simultaneously would be challenging even with modern computer assistance. The fact that ancient builders achieved this level of precision using supposedly primitive tools suggests either that their tools and techniques were far more sophisticated than we imagine, or that they had access to knowledge from a source beyond their apparent technological capabilities. Some researchers have proposed that the mathematical constants in the pyramid serve as a kind of universal signature, a way of communicating with any civilization sophisticated enough to understand advanced mathematics. Mathematical relationships like pi and the golden ratio are universal constants that would be recognizable to any scientifically advanced culture, regardless of their planet of origin or their particular number system. If you wanted to leave a message that could be understood across vast distances of space and time, encoding it in fundamental mathematical relationships would be an effective approach. The pyramid's mathematical precision also suggests that its builders understood the relationship between mathematics and consciousness. Many of the ratios found in the pyramid correspond to frequencies and proportions that have measurable effects on human awareness and perception. The golden ratio, for example, appears in brainwave patterns associated with meditative states and enhanced creativity. The harmonic proportions found in the pyramid's chambers correspond to sound frequencies that can alter consciousness and induce transcendent experiences. This connection between mathematics and consciousness may explain why the pyramid was built with such extraordinary precision. If the structure was designed to facilitate specific states of awareness or to enhance human consciousness in particular ways, then mathematical precision would be essential to its function. The pyramid becomes not just a monument or a tomb, but a technology for transformation, a device designed to alter human consciousness through the application of precise mathematical and acoustic principles. The mathematical constants encoded in the Great Pyramid represent a message written in the universal language of numbers. Whether this message was intended for future human civilizations, for visitors from other worlds, or for some purpose we cannot yet comprehend, it demonstrates a level of knowledge and sophistication that challenges our assumptions about ancient capabilities. The pyramid stands as proof that mathematics, the language of the cosmos itself, was understood and applied by the pyramid's builders with a precision that continues to amaze and mystify us today. The Great Pyramid stands as a monument to capabilities that seem to transcend the technological limitations of its supposed era. When we consider the precision of its construction, the sophistication of its mathematical relationships, and the advanced astronomical knowledge required for its stellar alignments, we are forced to confront an uncomfortable question. How did a civilization that supposedly relied on copper tools, wooden ramps, and human labor create something that challenges our modern engineering capabilities? This question has given birth to two competing theories, each as extraordinary as the evidence itself. The first suggests that the pyramid was built with the assistance of visitors from beyond our world, beings who possessed technology far in advance of ancient human civilization. The second proposes that human civilization itself is far older and more advanced than mainstream archaeology suggests, and that the pyramid represents the remnant of a lost golden age of human achievement. The ancient astronaut hypothesis, popularized by researchers like Erich von Daniken and Zechariah Sitchin, points to the seemingly impossible aspects of pyramid construction as evidence of extraterrestrial intervention. The precision cutting of massive granite blocks, the transportation of stones weighing dozens of tons across hundreds of miles, the mathematical and astronomical sophistication embedded in the design all suggest capabilities that seem beyond the reach of Bronze Age civilization. According to this theory, visitors from other worlds either built the pyramid themselves or provided the knowledge and technology necessary for its construction. Ancient Sumerian texts speak of beings called the Anunnaki, described as gods who came from the sky and taught humanity the arts of civilization. These texts, written in cuneiform on clay tablets thousands of years old, describe these beings as possessing advanced technology, including flying vehicles and sophisticated tools. The Anunnaki are credited with teaching humans agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. If taken literally, these accounts suggest that human civilization received a technological boost from an external source, which could explain the sudden appearance of sophisticated structures like the Great Pyramid. The pyramid texts themselves contain references that some interpret as evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Phrases describing the pharaoh ascending to the stars, joining the crew of celestial boats, and traveling to distant worlds could be interpreted as more than religious metaphor. The texts speak of the pharaoh being transformed into a star, of his body becoming light itself, of his journey to join the imperishable stars. While mainstream Egyptology interprets these as spiritual metaphors, proponents of the ancient astronaut theory suggest they might describe actual technological processes, methods of preserving consciousness, or even physical bodies for interstellar travel. The precision of the pyramid's construction provides compelling evidence for advanced technology. The granite coffer in the king's chamber, carved from a single block of one of the hardest stones on Earth, shows tool marks that suggest it was cut with rotating machinery rather than hand tools. The surfaces are smooth to within thousandths of an inch, a tolerance that would be challenging to achieve even with modern equipment. The corners are perfectly square, the angles precisely 90 degrees, the walls parallel to tolerances that seem impossible for ancient tools. Recent analysis of the pyramid's stone blocks has revealed other anomalies that support the advanced technology hypothesis. Some of the limestone blocks show evidence of having been cut with saws that moved at extremely high speeds, creating kerf marks that suggest diamond-tipped blades or laser cutting. The precision of the joints between blocks is so tight that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them, yet no mortar was used in much of the construction. This suggests a level of stone cutting and fitting that rivals modern masonry techniques. The transportation of the pyramid's stones presents another technological puzzle. The granite blocks used in the king's chamber weigh up to 70 tons each and were quarried 500 miles away in Aswan. Moving these massive stones would have required not just enormous human effort but sophisticated engineering techniques. Some researchers have suggested that the ancient Egyptians possessed levitation technology, pointing to hieroglyphic depictions that seem to show large objects being moved without visible means of support. However, the ancient astronaut hypothesis faces significant criticism from mainstream archaeology and science. Critics argue that it underestimates the ingenuity and capabilities of ancient human civilizations. They point out that while the pyramid's construction was certainly challenging, it was not necessarily impossible using the tools and techniques available to ancient Egyptians. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that large stones can be moved using simple machines, careful planning, and large numbers of workers. The alternative theory suggests that human civilization itself is far older and more sophisticated than conventional history acknowledges. This hypothesis proposes that the pyramid was built not by Bronze Age Egyptians, but by the survivors of an advanced human civilization that existed thousands of years earlier. According to this theory, sometime around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, human civilization reached a level of technological and scientific advancement that rivaled or exceeded our own. This advanced civilization was then destroyed by a global catastrophe, possibly the end of the last ice age, leaving only scattered survivors who preserved fragments of ancient knowledge. Evidence for this lost civilization hypothesis comes from several sources. Geological surveys have revealed that the Sphinx shows evidence of water erosion, suggesting it is far older than conventional Egyptology claims. The erosion patterns are consistent with the heavy rainfall that occurred in Egypt during the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. If the Sphinx is indeed this old, it suggests that sophisticated stone carving techniques existed long before the rise of dynastic Egypt. The Giza plateau itself shows evidence of being an integrated complex designed according to a master plan that spans thousands of years. The positioning of the pyramids, the Sphinx, and various temples creates astronomical alignments that suggest a sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. But these alignments point to different eras, as if the complex was built and modified over many millennia by people who understood the slow drift of stellar positions caused by precession. Ancient traditions from around the world speak of a golden age of human civilization that was destroyed by flood and catastrophe. The Greeks spoke of Atlantis, a technologically advanced civilization that sank beneath the waves. Hindu texts describe previous cycles of civilization, each one reaching great heights before being destroyed and beginning anew. Aboriginal Australian traditions speak of a time when their ancestors possessed great knowledge and built magnificent structures before the waters rose and the old world was swept away. The Younger Dryas period, which occurred approximately 12,800 to 11,700 years ago, saw rapid climate change that would have devastated any existing civilization. This period coincided with the extinction of many large mammals and significant changes in human settlement patterns around the world. Some researchers suggest that this catastrophic period could have destroyed an advanced human civilization, leaving only scattered survivors who preserved fragments of ancient knowledge in myths, legends, and occasional monuments like the Great Pyramid. The knowledge preserved in the pyramid, the mathematical constants, astronomical alignments, and sophisticated engineering techniques, could represent the remnants of this lost civilization. The pyramid builders may not have been primitive people struggling with basic technology, but the inheritors of ancient wisdom working to preserve the most important achievements of their predecessors. The pyramid becomes not just a tomb or monument, but a time capsule, a repository of advanced knowledge encoded in stone to survive future catastrophes. This interpretation explains why the pyramid seems to encode knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for thousands of years. The speed of light, the precise value of pi, the golden ratio, advanced astronomical calculations, all represent knowledge that was once common but had been largely lost. The pyramid builders were not discovering these constants for the first time, but preserving them for future generations who would eventually rediscover their significance. The debate between these theories, ancient aliens versus advanced ancients, may ultimately be less important than the questions they raise about the nature of knowledge and the continuity of civilization. Both theories challenge the conventional narrative of linear progress, the idea that human knowledge and capability have steadily increased over time. Both suggest that our ancestors possessed capabilities that we are only beginning to understand and appreciate. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between these extremes. Maybe human civilization has indeed experienced cycles of rise and fall, periods of great advancement followed by catastrophic decline. Maybe during one of these advanced periods, contact was made with visitors from other worlds, leading to an exchange of knowledge and technology that influenced the development of structures like the Great Pyramid. The pyramid itself offers no clear answers, only deeper mysteries. It stands as evidence that someone, whether human or otherwise, possessed knowledge and capabilities that seem impossible for their supposed time period. The precision of its construction, the sophistication of its design, the advanced knowledge encoded in its dimensions, all point to a level of achievement that challenges our assumptions about the past. Whether built by ancient aliens sharing their technology with primitive humans, or by the survivors of an advanced human civilization preserving their knowledge for the future, the Great Pyramid represents a bridge across time. It connects us with capabilities and knowledge that seem almost magical from our current perspective, while reminding us that the story of intelligence in the universe, whether human or otherwise, may be far more complex and ancient than we dare to imagine. The question is not just who built the pyramid, but what they were trying to tell us. The message encoded in stone and starlight continues to whisper across the millennia, waiting for us to develop the wisdom to understand what our predecessors were trying to preserve for future generations. Beyond the mathematical constants and astronomical alignments lies another layer of meaning hidden within the Great Pyramid, a symbolic language that has captivated mystics, philosophers, and secret societies for thousands of years. This is the realm of esoteric symbolism, where the pyramid transforms from an ancient monument into a three-dimensional textbook of spiritual and metaphysical knowledge. The passages and chambers become more than architectural features. They become stages in an initiation process designed to transform human consciousness itself. The pyramid's internal structure follows a pattern that mirrors the classical elements and the stages of spiritual development described in ancient mystery schools throughout the Mediterranean world. The descending passage, which plunges down into the bedrock beneath the pyramid at a precise angle of 26 degrees, 18 minutes, and 9 seconds, represents the descent into matter, the soul's journey into physical incarnation. This passage is narrow, measuring only 3 feet 9 inches in height and 3 feet 5 inches in width, forcing anyone who travels through it to crawl in darkness, symbolizing the limitations and constraints of material existence. The passage's dimensions are not arbitrary but follow the sacred cubit measurements used throughout Egyptian sacred architecture. As you crawl through this confined space, the walls seem to press in around you, creating a sense of compression and limitation that perfectly represents the soul's experience of being trapped in physical matter. The ancient mystery schools taught that incarnation into physical form was both a necessary step in spiritual evolution and a kind of imprisonment from which the soul must eventually free itself. The passage leads to the subterranean chamber, a rough-hewn cave in the bedrock that remains deliberately unfinished, representing the unformed potential of raw matter and unawakened consciousness. This chamber, often called the Chamber of Chaos or the Pit, lies 150 feet below the pyramid's base level and represents the lowest point in the initiatory journey. The chamber's floor is uneven, its walls roughly carved, and its ceiling bears the marks of tools that were never used to complete the work. Within this subterranean space, a mysterious shaft descends even deeper into the bedrock, disappearing into darkness beyond the reach of modern exploration. This shaft, known as the Well of the Abyss in esoteric traditions, represents the infinite depths of unconscious matter, the primordial darkness from which all consciousness must emerge. The chamber's acoustic properties are unusual, creating an environment where sounds seem to be absorbed rather than reflected, as if the darkness itself were swallowing all vibration and light. From this lowest point, the ascending passage rises upward toward the light, symbolizing the soul's return journey toward divine consciousness. But this ascent requires effort and determination. The passage maintains the same cramped dimensions as the descending passage, still challenging, still requiring the seeker to crawl upward in a confined space, representing the difficulties faced by those who choose the path of spiritual development. The angle of ascent, matching exactly the angle of descent, creates a perfect symmetry that suggests the journey downward into matter must be balanced by an equal journey upward toward spirit. The transition from the descending to the ascending passage occurs at a point precisely aligned with the pyramid's base level, marking the boundary between the underworld of unconscious matter and the overworld of awakening consciousness. This junction point, known in esoteric traditions as the Gate of Crossing, represents the moment when the soul chooses to begin its return journey to divine awareness. The decision to ascend requires a complete change of direction, a turning away from the gravitational pull of material existence toward the more difficult path of spiritual development. The first major chamber encountered in this upward journey is the Queen's Chamber, positioned at the exact heart level of the pyramid. Unlike the other chambers, this space was never finished according to the original design. The floor remains rough and unpolished, the walls show no decoration or inscription, and a mysterious niche in the eastern wall appears to have been designed to hold something specific that was never placed there. This incompleteness is not an oversight or abandonment of the work, but a deliberate symbol with profound meaning. The Queen's Chamber represents the human heart, the center of emotional and spiritual life, which must be prepared and purified before the seeker can continue to higher levels of consciousness. In esoteric traditions, the heart is understood as more than just an organ of physical circulation. It is the seat of divine love, the point where the soul connects with cosmic consciousness. The chamber's unfinished state suggests that the heart's preparation is an ongoing process, never complete, always open to further refinement and purification. The chamber's position at the pyramid's heart level, exactly halfway between the base and the apex, reinforces this symbolism. The distance from the base to the Queen's Chamber level equals the distance from the Queen's Chamber level to the theoretical apex, creating a perfect balance point that represents the heart's role as mediator between earth and heaven, between matter and spirit. Ancient traditions describe the heart as the bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, the point where matter and spirit meet and interact in the crucible of human experience. The chamber's acoustic properties are unlike those of any other space in the pyramid. Sounds made within the chamber seem to be absorbed rather than reflected, creating an environment of profound silence that facilitates inner contemplation and meditation. This acoustic dampening effect is achieved through the chamber's precise proportions and the specific type of limestone used in its construction. The chamber acts as an acoustic sanctuary, a space where external noise cannot penetrate and where the subtle inner voices of intuition and spiritual guidance can be heard. The mysterious niche in the eastern wall of the Queen's Chamber has been the subject of intense speculation for centuries. Measuring approximately 5 feet in height and 3 feet in width, The niche appears to have been designed to hold a specific object or statue. The niche faces east toward the rising sun, and its proportions follow the same geometric relationships found throughout the pyramid. Some researchers believe it was designed to hold a statue of the goddess Isis, representing divine feminine wisdom. Others suggest it may have been intended for a crystal or geometric form that would focus and amplify the chamber's energy. The Eastern orientation of the niche connects it to the symbolism of rebirth and renewal. In Egyptian mythology, the sun god Ra died each evening in the west and was reborn each morning in the east, representing the eternal cycle of death and resurrection that governs all existence. The niche faces the direction of this daily rebirth, suggesting that the Queen's Chamber was designed as a space for spiritual renewal and transformation. Recent research has revealed that the Queen's Chamber has unique electromagnetic properties. The chamber's limestone walls contain high concentrations of crystalline inclusions that create piezoelectric effects when subjected to pressure or vibration. This means the chamber itself could generate electrical fields when exposed to sound waves or seismic activity. Some researchers believe this electrical activity was an intentional feature, designed to create an environment that could alter consciousness through electromagnetic stimulation of the brain's temporal lobes. The Grand Gallery, stretching upward from the Queen's Chamber level toward the King's Chamber, represents the expanded consciousness that comes with spiritual awakening. The gallery is one of the most impressive architectural achievements in the ancient world, a soaring space that rises at the same 26-degree angle found throughout the pyramid, but opens into a magnificent corbelled vault that reaches nearly 30 feet in height. The ceiling rises in 7 distinct levels, each corbel extending slightly inward to create a soaring space that seems to draw the eye and spirit inexorably upward. The number 7 holds deep significance in esoteric traditions across all cultures. It represents the 7 levels of consciousness described in yogic traditions, the 7 chakras or energy centers of the human body, the 7 heavens described in mystical literature from around the world. The 7 levels of the Grand Gallery's ceiling create a 3-dimensional mandala that embodies these universal principles of spiritual development. Each level of the gallery's corbelled ceiling is precisely proportioned according to the golden ratio, creating a series of nested rectangles that spiral inward as they rise. This geometric progression mirrors the mathematical relationships found in natural growth patterns, from the spiral of nautilus shells to the arrangement of galaxies. The gallery becomes a stone representation of the fundamental growth patterns that govern both consciousness and cosmos. The gallery's precise proportions create harmonic ratios that correspond to musical intervals used in sacred music and healing practices throughout history. When sound is produced in the gallery, the resonance creates standing waves that correspond to frequencies known to induce altered states of consciousness. The ancient mystery schools understood that specific sound frequencies could facilitate spiritual experiences, opening doorways to non-ordinary states of awareness that allowed direct contact with divine consciousness. The gallery's acoustic properties are so sophisticated that they suggest an advanced understanding of sound engineering that rivals modern concert hall design. The corbelled ceiling creates a series of reflection chambers that amplify certain frequencies while dampening others. The result is an acoustic environment that enhances the resonant frequencies associated with human consciousness while filtering out discordant vibrations that might interfere with meditative states. Along the gallery's floor run 2 raised ramps, each about 2 feet wide, separated by a central channel. These ramps, known as the pathway of ascension in esoteric traditions, represent the 2 pillars of wisdom found in mystical traditions worldwide. In Kabbalistic symbolism, these pillars represent severity and mercy, the 2 fundamental forces that must be balanced on the path to enlightenment. In yogic traditions, they represent the Ida and Pingala nadis, the 2 energy channels that must be harmonized before the central channel of Kundalini can be awakened. The central channel between the ramps has been interpreted as representing the middle path of Buddha, the narrow way of Christ, the straight path of Islamic mysticism. This central channel leads directly to the entrance of the King's Chamber, suggesting that the balanced integration of opposing forces is necessary before the seeker can enter the final stage of initiation. The gallery contains 27 precisely cut niches along its walls, each one exactly the same size and positioned at mathematically determined intervals. These niches have puzzled archaeologists for centuries, as they serve no obvious structural purpose. In esoteric traditions, they are understood as stations of meditation, specific points where the ascending initiate would pause to integrate the lessons of each level of consciousness. The number 27, being 3 cubed, represents the completion of development in the three-dimensional world of matter, spirit, and consciousness. At the end of this upward journey lies the King's Chamber, the ultimate destination of the pyramid's initiatory system. This chamber, built entirely of red granite brought from quarries 500 miles away, represents the transformed consciousness of the completed initiate. Granite is one of the hardest and most durable stones on Earth, symbolizing the imperishable nature of awakened consciousness. The choice of red granite is significant, as red represents the final stage of alchemical transformation, the achievement of the philosopher's stone of enlightened awareness. The chamber's proportions follow the sacred geometry of the Pythagorean triangle, with internal dimensions in the exact ratio of 3, 4, 5. This ratio, fundamental to geometric harmony, represents the reconciliation of opposing forces and the achievement of perfect balance. The 3 represents the spiritual realm, the 4 represents the material world, and the 5 represents their synthesis in human consciousness. These proportions create a space that is mathematically perfect, a three-dimensional embodiment of divine harmony. The King's Chamber is the only room in the pyramid that is completely sealed from the outside atmosphere when its entrances are blocked. This isolation creates a unique environment where temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure remain constant regardless of external conditions. The chamber acts as a kind of consciousness laboratory, a space isolated from the fluctuations of the material world where the subtle energies of awareness can be studied and cultivated. The empty granite coffer in the King's Chamber has been interpreted as a sarcophagus by conventional archaeology, but esoteric traditions see it as an initiation chamber designed for the final transformation of consciousness. The coffer's internal dimensions are exactly the right size to hold a human body, and its proportions follow the same golden ratio relationships found throughout the pyramid. The walls of the coffer are precisely 3 inches thick, a measurement that corresponds to the wavelength of specific healing frequencies used in ancient sound therapy. The coffer's acoustic properties are extraordinary. When struck, it produces a deep resonant tone in the key of F sharp, a frequency that corresponds to the heart chakra in yogic traditions and has been shown to have profound effects on human consciousness. The tone reverberates through the granite chamber walls and travels throughout the entire pyramid structure, creating a sympathetic resonance in the limestone blocks that can be felt as much as heard. The positioning of the coffer within the chamber follows astronomical alignments that connect it to specific stellar configurations. The coffer's long axis aligns with the meridian passage of Orion, while its short axis aligns with the passage of Sirius. These alignments suggest that the coffer was positioned not just for acoustic properties but to serve as a cosmic tuning fork, resonating with the frequencies of distant stars. Recent research has revealed that the King's Chamber has unique electromagnetic properties that distinguish it from every other space in the pyramid. The granite walls contain high concentrations of quartz crystals that create powerful piezoelectric fields when subjected to pressure or vibration. These fields can reach intensities that measurably affect human brain activity, particularly in the regions associated with visionary experiences and transcendent states of consciousness. The symbolism of death and rebirth, central to all mystery school initiations throughout history, finds perfect expression in the King's Chamber. The initiate would undergo a symbolic death by lying in the granite coffer, experiencing a form of sensory deprivation that could induce profound, altered states of consciousness. The chamber's isolation from the outside world, its acoustic properties, and its precise geometric proportions would create an environment conducive to transcendent experiences and spiritual transformation. The temperature in the King's Chamber remains constant at exactly 20 degrees Celsius year-round, regardless of the external desert temperature. This thermal stability creates an environment that minimizes physical discomfort and allows the initiate to focus entirely on internal experiences. The constant temperature also prevents the thermal expansion and contraction that might disrupt the chamber's acoustic properties or disturb the delicate electromagnetic fields generated by the granite walls. The pyramid's passages and chambers are connected by a system of shafts and openings that create a complex three-dimensional mandala visible only to those who understand the structure's hidden geometry. In Eastern traditions, mandalas are sacred geometric patterns that represent the cosmos and serve as tools for meditation and spiritual development. The pyramid can be seen as a massive stone mandala, with its chambers representing different states of consciousness and its passages representing the paths between them. The air shafts that connect the king's and queen's chambers to the outside world are precisely angled to align with specific stars, but they also serve a symbolic function as pathways for the soul's journey to the cosmic realms. These shafts, only 8 inches square but perfectly straight for hundreds of feet, represent the narrow pathways of consciousness that connect individual awareness with cosmic consciousness. The southern shafts point toward the realm of Osiris in Orion, while the northern shafts point toward the imperishable stars that never set. The symbolism extends beyond the internal structure to encompass the pyramid's external form and its relationship to the surrounding landscape. The 4 sides represent the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water, while the apex represents the 5th element, spirit or consciousness, which transcends and unifies the others. The pyramid's square base anchors it to the earth plane, representing the material foundation necessary for spiritual development, while its triangular faces reach toward the heavens, creating a perfect symbol of the union between matter and spirit. The pyramid's position on the Giza plateau creates additional layers of symbolic meaning. The structure sits at the geometric center of the Earth's land masses, equally distant from the Earth's poles, and positioned at the intersection of the longest lines of longitude and latitude that cross only land. This positioning suggests that the pyramid was intended as a global center, a focal point for planetary consciousness, and a beacon for cosmic communication. This symbolic language did not end with ancient Egypt, but was preserved and transmitted through various esoteric traditions throughout history. The Hermetic schools of Alexandria studied the pyramid's symbolism and incorporated its teachings into their philosophical systems. Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary founder of Hermetic philosophy, was said to have received his wisdom from the same divine source that inspired the pyramid's construction. The Hermetic axiom, "as above, so below," finds perfect expression in the pyramid's design, which mirrors celestial patterns in terrestrial stone. The medieval alchemists understood the pyramid as a symbol of the great work, the process of spiritual transformation that turns the base metal of ordinary consciousness into the gold of enlightened awareness. The pyramid's geometry appears in alchemical diagrams and texts throughout the Middle Ages and Renaissance, representing the stages of transformation through which the seeker must pass. The descent into the subterranean chamber represents the nigredo or black phase, the dissolution of the ego and the confrontation with the shadow aspects of the psyche. The ascent through the passages represents the albedo or white phase, the purification of consciousness and the development of spiritual insight. The arrival in the king's chamber represents the rubedo or red phase, the achievement of enlightened awareness and the completion of the alchemical transformation. The Rosicrucian movement, which emerged in medieval Europe, claimed direct descent from ancient Egyptian mystery schools and used pyramid symbolism extensively in their teachings. The Rosicrucian manifestos describe the pyramid as a temple of wisdom where the secrets of nature and the universe are preserved for those worthy to receive them. The movement's emphasis on the marriage of science and spirituality, of rational investigation and mystical experience, mirrors the pyramid's combination of precise mathematics and transcendent symbolism. The Masonic traditions, which claim descent from the builders of ancient temples, have long revered the pyramid as a symbol of spiritual architecture and the perfection of human consciousness. Masonic lodges are designed according to geometric principles derived from ancient sacred architecture, and the symbolism of ascent through degrees of initiation mirrors the pyramid's upward passages. The journey from entered apprentice to fellow craft to master mason parallels the journey from the subterranean chamber through the queen's chamber to the king's chamber. The unfinished pyramid that appears on the Great Seal of the United States with its all-seeing eye floating above the missing capstone, represents the incomplete nature of both the Masonic work and human spiritual development. The eye symbol, known as the Eye of Providence or the Eye of Horus, represents divine consciousness watching over the process of human evolution. The missing capstone suggests that the great work of human transformation remains unfinished, that humanity as a whole has not yet achieved the level of consciousness represented by the pyramid's apex. This symbolism connects the ancient pyramid to modern esoteric movements and suggests that its message remains relevant to contemporary spiritual seekers. The pyramid's design encodes universal principles of consciousness development that transcend cultural and historical boundaries. Whether approached through Egyptian mystery traditions, Greek philosophy, medieval alchemy, or modern psychology, the pyramid's symbolic language speaks to fundamental patterns of human consciousness and spiritual development. The Pythagorean school, founded in ancient Greece centuries after the pyramid's construction, incorporated many geometric and numerical principles that appear to derive directly from Egyptian mystery traditions. Pythagoras himself was said to have been initiated into the Egyptian mysteries during his travels in Egypt, and his mathematical discoveries echo the proportional relationships found throughout the pyramid's design. The Pythagorean theorem, the golden ratio, and the harmonic relationships between musical intervals all appear in the pyramid's geometry, suggesting a direct transmission of knowledge from Egypt to Greece and from there to the broader Mediterranean world. The Neoplatonic philosophers of Alexandria continued this tradition, interpreting the pyramid as a symbol of the soul's journey from the material world back to its divine source. Plotinus, the founder of Neoplatonism, described the soul's journey in terms that closely parallel the pyramid's symbolic structure. The soul begins in the realm of matter, represented by the subterranean chamber, ascends through the realm of soul, represented by the queen's chamber, and finally reaches the realm of pure spirit, represented by the king's chamber. The symbolism of light and shadow plays a crucial role in the pyramid's esoteric meaning, creating a dynamic interplay that changes throughout the day and across the seasons. The structure is precisely oriented to the cardinal directions, and its faces are angled to create specific shadow patterns at different times of the year. During the equinoxes, when day and night are equal in length, the shadows on the pyramid's faces create a serpentine pattern that appears to climb the structure, representing the awakening of Kundalini energy in yogic traditions or the ascent of consciousness through the levels of awareness. This serpentine shadow effect is achieved through subtle indentations in the pyramid's faces, concave curves so slight they are barely visible to the naked eye but sufficient to create the shadow pattern when the sun's angle is precisely correct. The effect appears only twice each year during the spring and autumn equinoxes, creating a cosmic calendar that marks the moments when the forces of light and darkness are in perfect balance. The pyramid's chambers are connected by a complex system of light wells and reflection chambers that channel sunlight deep into the structure during specific times of the year. The Grand Gallery acts as a massive light funnel, concentrating and directing sunlight toward the king's chamber during the winter solstice. This interplay of light and shadow was not accidental, but represents the fundamental principle of illumination that lies at the heart of all esoteric traditions. The seeker must learn to navigate both the light of consciousness and the shadow of the unconscious, integrating both aspects of experience into a unified understanding. The numerical symbolism embedded throughout the pyramid's design creates a mathematical meditation on the nature of reality itself. Every measurement, from the smallest details to the overall proportions, contributes to a unified numerical system that reveals the mathematical principles underlying both consciousness and cosmos. The base perimeter of 921.48 feet can be divided by various factors to produce numbers that correspond to astronomical cycles, musical intervals, and geometric relationships that appear throughout nature. These numbers form a kind of mathematical scripture, a numerical theology that reveals the underlying patterns that govern both the microcosm of human consciousness and the macrocosm of universal existence. The pyramid becomes a three-dimensional equation that solves for the relationship between matter and spirit, between individual awareness and cosmic consciousness. The pyramid stands as perhaps the most complete expression of esoteric symbolism ever created in stone, a masterwork of sacred architecture that preserves ancient wisdom in a form that transcends language and culture. Every measurement, every angle, every chamber and passage contributes to a unified symbolic system that maps the journey of consciousness from ignorance to enlightenment. The structure serves simultaneously as a monument, a temple, a textbook, and an initiation chamber, preserving the most profound insights of human spiritual development in permanent form. For those who understand its symbolic language, the pyramid becomes a multidimensional mandala, a stone scripture that reveals the deepest mysteries of existence. It speaks not just to the intellect but to the entire being, using geometry, proportion, sound, and electromagnetic resonance to create an environment that facilitates direct experience of transcendent consciousness. The pyramid's true message may not be found in its stones, but in the transformation of those who allow themselves to be guided by its ancient wisdom, those who undertake the inner journey that the pyramid so perfectly represents. For over a millennium, the Great Pyramid kept its secrets locked away in stone, its internal chambers sealed from human eyes by ingenious hidden passages and false walls. When the Caliph Abdullah al-Mamun finally broke through the pyramid's defenses in 820 CE, he expected to find the treasures of the pharaohs, golden artifacts and precious gems that would justify the enormous effort required to penetrate the ancient monument. Instead, his workers discovered something far more mysterious, empty chambers that seemed to have been waiting in silence for over 3,000 years. But the absence of conventional treasure did not mean the pyramid was empty of secrets. Over the centuries that followed, explorers and researchers have uncovered a series of discoveries that paint a picture of sophisticated technology, hidden chambers, and engineering marvels that continue to challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities. Each new discovery has raised more questions than it has answered, deepening the mystery of what the pyramid was truly designed to contain and accomplish. The first major modern exploration began in the 17th century when British mathematician John Greaves conducted the first systematic measurements of the pyramid's interior. Using primitive surveying equipment, Greaves documented the precise dimensions of the passages and chambers, discoveries that would later prove crucial for understanding the mathematical relationships encoded in the structure. His measurements revealed that the pyramid's internal geometry followed the same precise proportional relationships found in its external design, suggesting that every aspect of the structure had been planned with mathematical precision. In 1765, British explorer Nathaniel Davison made the first significant discovery of hidden spaces within the pyramid when he found a low chamber above the king's chamber. This space, now known as Davison's chamber, appeared to be a structural void designed to relieve pressure on the granite ceiling below. But the chamber contained something unexpected: rough graffiti left by the pyramid's original builders, including cartouches bearing the name of Khufu, the pharaoh traditionally credited with the pyramid's construction. These markings, painted in red ochre on the rough limestone blocks, provided the first direct evidence linking the pyramid to a specific pharaoh, but they also raised new questions. Why would the builders leave these marks in a hidden chamber that they never intended to be seen? Were these simply construction notes, or did they serve some other purpose? The markings include not just royal names but also measurements, directional indicators, and symbols whose meaning remains unclear to this day. 60 years later, Colonel Richard William Howard Vyse made an even more remarkable discovery when he used gunpowder to blast his way into 4 additional chambers above the king's chamber. These spaces, known collectively as the relieving chambers, contained more builders' marks and revealed the sophisticated engineering techniques used to protect the king's chamber from the enormous weight of stone above it. The chambers were built with massive granite beams, some weighing over 70 tons, arranged in a complex system of load distribution that demonstrates an advanced understanding of structural engineering. But the most intriguing aspect of these chambers was not their construction, but what they contained. In addition to the builders' marks, the chambers held small artifacts that seemed to have been deliberately placed there: fragments of diorite, an extremely hard stone that was sacred to the ancient Egyptians, pieces of worked granite that showed evidence of precision cutting, and small iron fragments that predated the supposed introduction of iron working to Egypt by over 1,000 years. The iron fragments were particularly puzzling. Chemical analysis revealed that they were not meteoritic iron, as some researchers initially suggested, but smelted iron produced through sophisticated metallurgical processes. The presence of worked iron in a structure supposedly built during the Bronze Age suggested either that the pyramid's construction date was incorrect or that ancient Egyptian technology was far more advanced than previously believed. In 1837, Colonel Vyse made another discovery that would prove equally controversial. Deep within the pyramid's core, his workers found a series of small chambers connected by narrow passages that appeared to have no structural purpose. These chambers, which came to be known as the mystery chambers, contained traces of organic material that seemed to have been deliberately placed there. Carbon dating of these materials produced dates that were hundreds of years older than the accepted construction date of the pyramid, suggesting that either the pyramid was built on a much older site or that it incorporated materials from earlier structures. The 19th century brought new tools and techniques to pyramid exploration. The development of photography allowed researchers to document their discoveries with unprecedented accuracy, while advances in surveying equipment made possible increasingly precise measurements of the pyramid's internal geometry. French Egyptologist Auguste Mariette conducted extensive explorations that revealed the complex system of passages and chambers extended far deeper into the pyramid than previously imagined. Mariette's work uncovered evidence of sophisticated ventilation systems that maintained air circulation throughout the pyramid's interior passages. These systems included not just the obvious air shafts leading from the king's and queen's chambers to the outside, but also a network of smaller passages that created air currents throughout the structure. The engineering required to design such a system suggested that the pyramid's builders understood principles of fluid dynamics and air circulation that would not be formally described by science for thousands of years. In 1880, British archaeologist Flinders Petrie conducted the most systematic and scientific exploration of the pyramid up to that time. Using precision measuring instruments, Petrie documented the pyramid's dimensions with an accuracy that has rarely been equaled. His measurements revealed that the pyramid's construction tolerances were far tighter than anything achieved in modern building, with some joints fitting together to within 1/50th of an inch. Petrie's work also uncovered evidence of the sophisticated tools used in the pyramid's construction. He found saw marks on granite blocks that suggested the use of saws over 9 feet in length, with teeth made of materials harder than the granite itself. The cutting marks showed a regularity and precision that suggested mechanical rather than hand operation, implying the existence of powered cutting tools that conventional archaeology insists did not exist in ancient Egypt. Perhaps most remarkably, Petrie discovered that many of the pyramid's granite blocks showed evidence of having been cut with circular saws. The curvature of the cut marks indicated saws with diameters of up to 37 inches operated at extremely high speeds. The precision of these cuts, combined with the hardness of granite, suggested cutting techniques that would be challenging even with modern diamond-tipped tools. The 20th century brought even more sophisticated investigation techniques to pyramid research. In 1968, Nobel Prize-winning physicist Luis Alvarez led a team that used cosmic ray muon detectors to search for hidden chambers within the pyramid. Muons, subatomic particles created when cosmic rays strike the Earth's atmosphere, can penetrate stone but are absorbed at predictable rates. By measuring muon absorption patterns, researchers hoped to detect voids within the pyramid's structure. The Alvarez experiment detected several anomalies that suggested the presence of unknown chambers, but the technology of the time was not sophisticated enough to provide precise locations or dimensions. The experiment did confirm that the pyramid contained voids beyond the known chambers, but the exact nature and location of these spaces remained mysterious. In 1986, French architect Gilles Dormion conducted ground-penetrating radar surveys that detected what appeared to be a corridor running parallel to the Grand Gallery, hidden within the pyramid's core. This hidden passage, if it exists, would represent a major architectural feature that has remained concealed for over 4,000 years. Subsequent attempts to locate this corridor using different techniques have produced contradictory results, leaving its existence unconfirmed but tantalizing. The 1990s brought robotic exploration to pyramid research. In 1993, German robotics engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a small robot called UPUAUT-2 through the southern shaft from the Queen's Chamber. After crawling 200 feet through the 8-inch square passage, the robot encountered a limestone block that completely sealed the shaft. The block contained 2 copper fixtures that looked remarkably like handles, suggesting it might be a door rather than a simple blockage. This discovery electrified the archaeological world. If the copper fixtures were indeed handles, they implied that the block was designed to be moved, possibly concealing a chamber beyond. The precision of the copperwork, with perfectly straight edges and right-angle corners, demonstrated metalworking skills that seemed impossible for the supposed tools of ancient Egypt. The copper itself showed no signs of corrosion, despite being exposed to the shaft's environment for thousands of years, suggesting a preservation technique unknown to modern science. In 2002, a follow-up expedition used a different robot to drill a small hole through the limestone block and insert a fiber optic camera. The camera revealed a small chamber beyond the block, but instead of treasure or inscriptions, it showed only another limestone block, apparently sealing the chamber from the far end. The discovery suggested that the Queen's Chamber shafts led not to the outside world as previously believed, but to sealed chambers whose purpose remained completely unknown. The northern shaft from the Queen's Chamber proved equally mysterious. Robot exploration revealed that this shaft made several right-angle turns before ending at another sealed block. The precision of these turns, cut through solid limestone with perfectly square corners, demonstrated engineering skills that would be challenging even with modern tools. The purpose of these turns, which serve no obvious structural function, remained completely unexplained. Meanwhile, investigation of the shafts from the King's Chamber revealed their own mysteries. While these shafts do reach the pyramid's exterior, their final sections contain features that seem inconsistent with simple ventilation. The southern shaft contains a chamber just before its exit point, a small room that appears to have been deliberately created within the shaft's path. This chamber contains copper fixtures similar to those found in the Queen's Chamber shafts, but their purpose remains unknown. In 2017, the most significant discovery in decades was announced by an international team of researchers using muon tomography, an advanced version of the technique pioneered by Alvarez 50 years earlier. The team detected a massive void within the pyramid, a chamber at least 100 feet long and 26 feet high, located above the Grand Gallery. This chamber, dubbed the Great Void, represents the largest internal space discovered in the pyramid since the original chambers were found over 1,000 years ago. The Great Void's discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. A chamber of this size would have required enormous effort to create and would have significantly affected the pyramid's structural integrity. The fact that it had remained hidden for so long suggested either that its entrance was extremely well concealed or that it was designed to be inaccessible. The chamber's position above the Grand Gallery implied a connection to the pyramid's acoustic properties, possibly serving as a resonance chamber that amplified sounds produced in the gallery below. The scanning technology revealed that the Great Void has the same internal structure as the Grand Gallery, with a corbelled ceiling that rises in steps toward the center. This architectural similarity suggested that the two spaces were designed to work together, possibly as components of a larger acoustic system. The discovery implied that the pyramid's internal structure was even more complex than previously imagined, with major architectural features that had escaped detection for millennia. Further analysis of the muon tomography data revealed additional anomalies within the pyramid's structure. Several smaller voids were detected in locations that did not correspond to any known chambers or passages. These spaces appeared to be too small to be chambers, but too large to be simple construction gaps. Their purpose and contents remained completely unknown, adding new layers to the pyramid's mystery. The investigation of these discoveries has been complicated by the Egyptian government's restrictions on invasive exploration techniques. While non-destructive scanning methods like muon tomography are permitted, any attempt to drill or excavate into the newly discovered chambers requires extensive approval processes that can take years to complete. This has left many of the pyramid's newest secrets tantalizingly out of reach, detected but not yet explored. Recent analysis of the pyramid's acoustics has revealed another layer of mystery. Sound engineers have discovered that the pyramid's chambers and passages create complex resonance patterns that seem too sophisticated to be accidental. The king's chamber resonates at frequencies that correspond to specific brainwave patterns associated with meditative states. The queen's chamber absorbs sound rather than reflecting it, creating an environment of profound silence. The Grand Gallery amplifies certain frequencies while dampening others, suggesting it was designed as a selective acoustic filter. These acoustic properties become even more intriguing when combined with the pyramid's electromagnetic characteristics. The granite used in the king's chamber contains high concentrations of quartz crystals that generate piezoelectric fields when subjected to pressure or vibration. These fields can reach intensities that measurably affect human brain activity, particularly in regions associated with altered states of consciousness. The combination of acoustic and electromagnetic effects suggests that the pyramid's chambers were designed to create specific neurological responses in human occupants. The king's chamber, with its resonant frequencies and electromagnetic fields, could induce profound altered states of consciousness. The queen's chamber, with its acoustic dampening and central position, could facilitate deep meditation and introspection. The Grand Gallery, with its selective acoustic filtering, could prepare initiates for the experiences awaiting them in the upper chamber. Modern analysis has also revealed the sophistication of the pyramid's structural engineering. Computer modeling has shown that the pyramid's internal passages and chambers are positioned to minimize stress concentrations while maximizing structural stability. The weight of the pyramid is distributed through a complex system of load-bearing elements that prevent any single component from being overstressed. This level of engineering sophistication suggests not just advanced mathematical knowledge, but sophisticated understanding of materials science and structural mechanics. The precision of the pyramid's construction becomes even more remarkable when examined at the microscopic level. Electron microscope analysis of the joints between stone blocks has revealed that they were cut and fitted with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. The surfaces are so smooth and precisely matched that they create nearly perfect contact between blocks, distributing loads evenly and preventing stress concentrations that could lead to structural failure over time. Chemical analysis of the limestone blocks has revealed another mystery. The stones contain traces of organic compounds that suggest they were treated with preservatives or sealants. These compounds, which include complex organic polymers, would have required sophisticated chemical knowledge to produce. Their presence suggests that the pyramid's builders understood not just mechanical engineering but also materials science and chemistry. Perhaps most intriguingly, recent discoveries have revealed that the pyramid contains materials that should not exist according to conventional archaeology. Iron artifacts found within the structure predate the supposed introduction of ironworking to Egypt by centuries. Glass beads discovered in the pyramid's core show evidence of manufacturing techniques that were supposedly unknown to ancient civilizations. Copper alloys used in the pyramid's fixtures contain trace elements that suggest metallurgical knowledge far in advance of the supposed Bronze Age techniques. The investigation of the pyramid's hidden chambers and passages continues to reveal new mysteries with each technological advance. Ground-penetrating radar surveys have detected additional voids within the pyramid structure, spaces that may represent chambers, passages, or simply construction features whose purpose remains unknown. Thermal imaging has revealed temperature variations within the pyramid's walls that suggest the presence of hidden passages or chambers that maintain different thermal characteristics from the surrounding stone. Seismic surveys have detected acoustic anomalies that suggest the pyramid contains resonance chambers beyond those already discovered. These spaces appear to be connected by a network of narrow passages that create complex acoustic effects throughout the structure. The discovery suggests that the pyramid was designed as an integrated acoustic system, with multiple chambers and passages working together to create specific sound effects and resonance patterns. The ongoing investigation of these discoveries continues to challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities and purposes. Each new technology applied to pyramid research reveals additional layers of sophistication and mystery. The structure appears to be far more complex than even the most optimistic estimates suggested, containing systems and features whose purpose may be beyond our current ability to understand. The pyramid's hidden chambers and sophisticated systems raise profound questions about the knowledge and intentions of its builders. Were these features designed for religious or ceremonial purposes, as conventional archaeology suggests, or do they represent technology whose purpose we have yet to understand? The precision of construction, the sophistication of engineering, and the complexity of the internal systems all suggest capabilities that seem almost impossible for the supposed era of construction. As new technologies continue to reveal the pyramid's secrets, one thing becomes increasingly clear: we have only begun to understand what lies hidden within this ancient monument. The Great Void discovery proved that major architectural features can remain concealed for millennia, suggesting that other significant discoveries await future investigation. The pyramid continues to guard its secrets, revealing them slowly to each generation of researchers who possess the tools and knowledge necessary to unlock its ancient mysteries. The question is not just what we have found inside the pyramid, but what remains to be discovered. Each new chamber explored, each new passage mapped, each new system understood brings us closer to comprehending the true purpose of this ancient marvel. But it also reveals how much we still do not know, how many secrets remain locked within the pyramid's stone embrace, waiting for future generations to develop the technologies and insights necessary to finally understand what the pyramid's builders were trying to accomplish. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands alone in its perfection, but it does not stand alone in the world. Across every inhabited continent on Earth, ancient civilizations built pyramidal structures that echo its form and purpose. From the jungles of Central America to the mountains of China, from the islands of the Pacific to the steppes of Kazakhstan, pyramid builders left their monuments as testaments to knowledge and capabilities that seem to transcend the boundaries of time, geography, and culture. These structures were not built by civilizations that had contact with one another, at least not according to conventional history. The vast oceans and impassable mountain ranges that separated these ancient peoples should have made the transmission of architectural knowledge impossible. Yet the similarities between pyramid structures found on opposite sides of the globe are so striking that they suggest either direct contact between ancient civilizations or access to a common source of knowledge that influenced pyramid builders worldwide. In the dense rainforests of Guatemala and Mexico, the Maya constructed pyramids that rival the precision and sophistication of their Egyptian counterparts. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, built sometime between 100 and 450 CE, demonstrates astronomical alignments that equal those found at Giza. The structure is precisely oriented to the cardinal directions, and its angles create shadow effects that mark significant astronomical events throughout the year. But the Mayan pyramids reveal knowledge that goes beyond simple astronomical observation. El Castillo at Chichen Itza, built sometime between 900 and 1200 CE, creates one of the most sophisticated astronomical displays ever achieved in stone. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun casts shadows on the pyramid's northern staircase that create the illusion of a serpent descending from the heavens to earth. This effect requires not just precise astronomical calculation but sophisticated understanding of shadow geometry and optical illusion. The precision required to create this effect is extraordinary. The pyramid's builders had to calculate not just the sun's position during the equinoxes, but also the exact angle of the staircase, the height of each step, and the orientation of the entire structure to create shadows that would form the serpent pattern at exactly the right moment. This level of precision suggests knowledge of spherical trigonometry and advanced astronomical calculation that rivals modern techniques. The Mayan pyramids also demonstrate acoustic properties that seem too sophisticated to be accidental. When you clap your hands at the base of El Castillo, the pyramid reflects the sound back as a chirping echo that mimics the call of the Quetzal bird, sacred to Mayan culture. This acoustic effect is created by the precise spacing and angle of the pyramid steps, which act as acoustic reflectors that modify the frequency and timbre of reflected sounds. Even more remarkably, the pyramid at Chichen Itza demonstrates the same acoustic sophistication found at Giza. The internal chambers create resonance effects that amplify certain frequencies while dampening others. The pyramid's designers understood how to use stone architecture to create specific acoustic environments, knowledge that suggests either independent development of advanced acoustic science or transmission of knowledge from a common source. The astronomical alignments of Mayan pyramids extend beyond simple solar observations to include complex planetary calculations. The pyramid complex at Palenque includes structures aligned with the movements of Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. These alignments require knowledge of planetary orbital periods and the ability to predict planetary positions across decades or centuries. The precision of these calculations suggests astronomical knowledge that surpasses what conventional archaeology attributes to Mayan civilization. The Mayan calendar system, carved in stone throughout their pyramid complexes, demonstrates mathematical sophistication that equals or surpasses modern astronomical calculation. The long count calendar tracks cycles of time spanning millions of years, incorporating corrections for leap years and precession that were not rediscovered by Western astronomy until the 20th century. This calendar system is intimately connected to the pyramid alignments, suggesting that the structures served as three-dimensional astronomical computers designed to track cosmic cycles across vast periods of time. In South America, the civilizations that preceded the Inca built pyramidal structures that demonstrate equally sophisticated knowledge. The pyramid complex at Caral in Peru, dated to approximately 2600 BCE, predates the Egyptian pyramids by several centuries, yet demonstrates many of the same architectural and astronomical principles. The structures are precisely oriented to cardinal directions and incorporate mathematical relationships that appear throughout ancient pyramid architecture worldwide. The Caral pyramids demonstrate acoustic properties that create musical effects when specific ceremonies are performed. Archaeological evidence suggests that the pyramids were designed as amphitheaters where sound could be amplified and modified through architectural acoustics. Conch shell trumpets and other musical instruments found at the site produce resonance effects when played within the pyramid complexes, suggesting that these structures were designed for acoustic ceremonies that combined music, architecture, and astronomy. Even more intriguing are the recent discoveries at sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, where megalithic structures predate the pyramids by thousands of years, yet demonstrate similar astronomical alignments and sophisticated construction techniques. Göbekli Tepe, built around 9600 BCE, contains massive stone pillars arranged in complex patterns that align with specific star configurations. The precision of construction and the astronomical knowledge required suggest that sophisticated building techniques and cosmic awareness existed far earlier than conventional archaeology acknowledges. The stone circles at Göbekli Tepe incorporate mathematical relationships found in pyramid structures worldwide. The spacing between pillars follows geometric progressions based on the golden ratio and other mathematical constants. The site demonstrates that the knowledge encoded in pyramid architecture may be far more ancient than previously believed, possibly stretching back to the end of the last ice age when global climate changes would have forced widespread human migration and cultural exchange. In Asia, pyramid building traditions extend across vast geographical areas and time periods. The pyramids of China, many of which remain restricted from public access, demonstrate construction techniques and astronomical alignments that parallel those found in Egypt and the Americas. The largest of these structures, the White Pyramid near Xi'an, rivals the Great Pyramid of Giza in size and appears to incorporate similar mathematical relationships in its design. Chinese historical records describe these pyramids as ancient even by Chinese standards, attributing their construction to legendary emperors who possessed divine knowledge. These texts suggest that the pyramids served as cosmic observatories and communication devices, allowing their builders to maintain contact with celestial realms. While such descriptions are typically dismissed as mythology, the sophisticated astronomical alignments of the surviving structures suggest that these accounts may preserve memories of actual technological capabilities. The pyramid complex at Borobudur in Indonesia represents another remarkable achievement in pyramid architecture. Built sometime between 700 and 800 CE, this massive stone structure combines Buddhist religious symbolism with sophisticated astronomical alignments and acoustic properties. The structure is designed as a three-dimensional mandala that mirrors the Buddhist conception of the cosmos, but it also functions as an accurate astronomical observatory, that tracks the movements of stars and planets across the sky. Borobudur demonstrates the same acoustic sophistication found in pyramid structures worldwide. The stone galleries create resonance effects that amplify chanted prayers and meditation practices. The structure's design channels sound in specific patterns that correspond to the geometric arrangement of Buddhist prayer beads and meditation practices. This integration of acoustic, astronomical, and spiritual elements suggests knowledge that transcends simple architectural skill. The recently discovered pyramid complex at Mount Padang in Indonesia has revealed even more ancient pyramid building traditions in Southeast Asia. Geological surveys suggest that the oldest layers of this structure may date back over 20,000 years, making it potentially the oldest pyramid structure ever discovered. The site demonstrates sophisticated megalithic construction techniques and astronomical alignments that predate all other known pyramid structures. Carbon dating of organic materials found within the Mount Padang structure has produced dates that challenge conventional chronologies of human civilization. If these dates are accurate, they suggest that sophisticated pyramid building techniques existed during the last ice age, possibly spreading from Southeast Asia to other regions as climate changes forced human migration. This would explain the worldwide distribution of similar pyramid building techniques and astronomical knowledge. In Africa, pyramid traditions extend far beyond Egypt to include structures throughout the continent. The pyramids of Sudan, built by the Kingdom of Kush, demonstrate many of the same construction techniques and astronomical alignments found at Giza. These structures, while smaller than their Egyptian counterparts, incorporate sophisticated mathematical relationships and demonstrate knowledge of advanced construction techniques. The Nubian pyramids show evidence of acoustic design features similar to those found in other pyramid structures worldwide. The chambers create specific resonance effects that amplify certain frequencies associated with ritual practices and altered states of consciousness. This suggests that pyramid builders across Africa shared knowledge of acoustic engineering and its applications to spiritual and ceremonial practices. Even more intriguing are the recently discovered pyramid structures in Bosnia, where investigations have revealed what may be massive artificial hills that incorporate pyramid geometry and astronomical alignments. While these discoveries remain controversial, geological surveys have detected geometric anomalies and artificial construction features that suggest human modification of natural landforms using pyramid design principles. The Bosnian pyramid complex, if confirmed as artificial, would represent the largest pyramid structures ever built. Ground-penetrating radar has detected internal chambers and passages within these hills, suggesting that they may represent a type of pyramid architecture that integrates artificial construction with natural landforms. This technique would explain how such massive structures could be built using ancient technology. Acoustic measurements at the Bosnian pyramid sites have detected unusual resonance effects that suggest the structures may function as massive acoustic amplifiers. Underground chambers appear to be connected by tunnels that create complex acoustic networks capable of transmitting sound across vast distances. If these features are confirmed as artificial, they would represent acoustic engineering on a scale never before imagined. The worldwide distribution of pyramid structures raises profound questions about the transmission of knowledge across ancient civilizations. The similarities in construction techniques, astronomical alignments, acoustic properties, and mathematical relationships suggest either widespread contact between ancient civilizations or access to a common source of knowledge that influenced pyramid builders worldwide. Some researchers have proposed that pyramid building knowledge spread through ancient maritime trade networks that were far more extensive than conventional history acknowledges. Evidence of transoceanic contact between ancient civilizations continues to accumulate, including genetic markers that suggest contact between American and Polynesian populations, archaeological artifacts that appear in unexpected geographical contexts, and linguistic similarities that span vast oceanic distances. The discovery of cocaine residues in Egyptian mummies, despite the fact that coca plants are native only to South America, suggests that transoceanic trade existed thousands of years before Columbus. Similarly, the presence of American tobacco in Egyptian tombs indicates contact between the Old and New Worlds that predates known historical connections. These discoveries suggest that ancient civilizations may have possessed maritime capabilities that allowed worldwide transmission of cultural and technological knowledge. Alternative theories propose that pyramid-building knowledge derives from a common ancestral civilization that existed before the worldwide catastrophes that marked the end of the last ice age. This hypothetical civilization would have developed sophisticated architectural, astronomical, and mathematical knowledge that was preserved and transmitted by survivors who spread across the globe as climate changes made their original homeland uninhabitable. This theory would explain not just the worldwide distribution of pyramid-building techniques, but also the sophisticated astronomical knowledge that appears in ancient cultures worldwide. The understanding of precession, planetary cycles, and complex astronomical calculations found in ancient pyramid structures suggests access to knowledge that required centuries or millennia to develop. If this knowledge was developed by a single advanced civilization and then transmitted to survivors across the globe, it would explain the remarkable similarities found in pyramid structures worldwide. The integration of acoustic engineering found in pyramid structures across different continents suggests particularly sophisticated technical knowledge that would be difficult to develop independently. The understanding of resonance, frequency manipulation, and acoustic amplification demonstrated in these structures requires knowledge of physics principles that were not formally described until the modern era. The worldwide distribution of this knowledge suggests either remarkable independent development or transmission from a common source. Recent discoveries have revealed that many pyramid sites incorporate similar electromagnetic properties that affect human consciousness and perception. Measurements at pyramid sites worldwide have detected magnetic anomalies, electromagnetic fields, and other energetic phenomena that suggest these structures were designed to create specific physiological and psychological effects in human visitors. The consistency of these electromagnetic effects across pyramid sites on different continents suggests that ancient builders understood principles of bioelectromagnetism and consciousness manipulation that modern science is only beginning to explore. This knowledge would have required sophisticated understanding of human neurology, electromagnetic physics, and the interaction between environmental energy fields and human consciousness. The astronomical alignments found in pyramid structures worldwide demonstrate knowledge of cosmic cycles that spans thousands of years. The builders of these structures understood not just the daily and annual movements of celestial bodies, but also the longer cycles of precession, planetary alignments, and other astronomical phenomena that require centuries of careful observation to detect and calculate. This level of astronomical knowledge suggests either extremely long-term cultural continuity that allowed generations of observers to accumulate and preserve astronomical data, or access to knowledge from a source that had already completed such observations. The remarkable consistency of astronomical knowledge across pyramid-building cultures suggests a common source rather than independent development. The mathematical relationships encoded in pyramid structures worldwide demonstrate understanding of advanced geometric and numerical principles that were supposedly not discovered until much later in human history. The golden ratio, pi, advanced trigonometric relationships, and other mathematical constants appear in pyramid structures across all continents, suggesting either remarkable independent discovery or transmission from a common mathematical tradition. The precision of mathematical implementation found in these structures suggests not just theoretical knowledge but practical experience in applying complex mathematical principles to architectural projects. This level of mathematical sophistication would have required educational institutions and technical traditions capable of preserving and transmitting precise numerical knowledge across generations. As we examine pyramid structures across the globe, we see not isolated monuments built by unconnected civilizations, but components of a worldwide network of structures that share common design principles, astronomical alignments, acoustic properties, and mathematical relationships. Whether this network represents the legacy of a lost global civilization, the result of ancient worldwide contact, or access to knowledge from sources beyond conventional history, it suggests that human civilization may be far more ancient and sophisticated than we currently understand. The message encoded in pyramid structures worldwide speaks to universal principles that transcend cultural and geographical boundaries. These monuments preserve knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, acoustics, and consciousness that remains relevant to contemporary scientific investigation. They stand as testimony to human capabilities and knowledge that challenge our assumptions about the past and invite us to reconsider the true scope and antiquity of human achievement. If you were tasked with leaving a message that could survive the rise and fall of civilizations, that could weather ice ages and global catastrophes, that could remain comprehensible to beings who might discover it thousands or even tens of thousands of years in the future, how would you encode that message? What medium would you choose? What language would you use? What symbols would transcend the barriers of time, culture, and possibly even species? This challenge of deep time communication has become increasingly relevant in our modern world as we grapple with how to warn future civilizations about nuclear waste sites, how to preserve crucial knowledge through potential societal collapse, and how to communicate with potential extraterrestrial civilizations. The solutions proposed by contemporary scientists and linguists bear a striking resemblance to the design principles embodied in the Great Pyramid of Giza, suggesting that this ancient monument might represent the most successful attempt at deep time communication ever achieved. Modern researchers studying long-term information preservation have identified several key principles for effective deep time communication. The message must be encoded in a medium that can survive geological timescales without degradation. It must use a symbolic language that does not depend on specific cultural knowledge or linguistic traditions. It must be large enough and distinctive enough to attract attention across vast periods of time. It must be self-explanatory, containing within itself the keys to its own interpretation. And it must encode information that is both important enough to preserve and useful enough to motivate future civilizations to decode and understand it. Stone represents the most durable medium available for long-term information storage. Unlike paper, metal, or digital media, properly constructed stone architecture can survive for tens of thousands of years with minimal degradation. The limestone and granite used in pyramid construction have proven their durability across millennia, showing minimal weathering despite exposure to desert conditions for over 4,000 years. The choice of stone as a medium for deep time communication represents an understanding of materials science that prioritizes longevity over convenience. But durability alone is not sufficient for effective deep time communication. The message must also be encoded in a language that transcends cultural and temporal boundaries. Human languages change rapidly, becoming incomprehensible within centuries. Written scripts become obsolete, religious symbols lose their meaning, and cultural references become meaningless to future civilizations. Effective deep time communication requires a universal language that would be comprehensible to any scientifically advanced civilization, regardless of their cultural background or evolutionary history. Mathematics represents the closest thing to a truly universal language that we know. Mathematical relationships and geometric principles appear to be fundamental properties of the universe itself, applicable to any civilization capable of scientific investigation. Pi, the golden ratio, prime numbers, and geometric relationships would be recognizable to any society that had developed mathematics and science. By encoding information in mathematical relationships rather than linguistic symbols, a message could potentially remain comprehensible across vast periods of time and cultural change. The Great Pyramid embodies this principle of mathematical communication in its most sophisticated form. Every aspect of the structure, from its overall proportions to the dimensions of its internal chambers, incorporates mathematical relationships that serve as a kind of numerical signature. The encoding of pi in the ratio of perimeter to height, the incorporation of the golden ratio in the pyramid's profile, the relationship between the pyramid's dimensions, and fundamental constants like the speed of light, all serve to identify the structure as an intentional mathematical construct rather than a random architectural achievement. Astronomy provides another universal language suitable for deep time communication. The movements of celestial bodies follow mathematical laws that remain constant across geological timescales. While individual stars may change position due to proper motion and precession, the fundamental relationships between stellar positions, planetary orbits, and cosmic cycles remain predictable and calculable. A civilization capable of advanced astronomy would recognize stellar alignments and astronomical relationships regardless of when they existed or where they originated. The pyramid's stellar alignments serve multiple functions in this context of deep time communication. They establish a temporal signature that identifies when the structure was built, allowing future civilizations to understand its historical context. They demonstrate sophisticated astronomical knowledge that establishes the scientific credibility of the builders. They create reference points that connect the terrestrial structure to cosmic phenomena, suggesting that the message has implications beyond earthbound concerns. The precision of the pyramid's astronomical alignments goes beyond what would be necessary for simple calendar keeping or religious symbolism. The shafts from the king's chamber point to specific stars with an accuracy that requires understanding of precession and long-term stellar motion. This level of precision suggests that the alignments were intended to be recognizable across vast periods of time, serving as cosmic coordinates that would remain meaningful to any civilization capable of advanced astronomy. Geometry provides yet another component of the pyramid's universal language. The mathematical relationships embodied in the pyramid's design create a kind of geometric vocabulary that would be comprehensible to any civilization that had developed mathematics. The Pythagorean relationships, the golden ratio proportions, the harmonic intervals encoded in the chamber dimensions, all represent geometric principles that are fundamental to mathematics and science. The pyramid's geometric language becomes increasingly sophisticated as it is studied in greater detail. The structure embodies not just simple mathematical relationships, but complex geometric principles that relate to natural growth patterns, harmonic frequencies, and physical constants. This suggests that the geometric language was intended to convey not just mathematical knowledge, but understanding of natural laws and physical principles that govern the universe. The pyramid's enormous size serves a crucial function in deep-time communication by ensuring that the structure would remain visible and significant across vast periods of time. Unlike smaller monuments that might be lost or destroyed, the pyramid's massive scale makes it virtually indestructible through natural processes. Its size also ensures that it would attract attention from any civilization capable of recognizing artificial structures, making it unlikely that the message would be overlooked or ignored. The scale of the pyramid also allows for multiple levels of encoding, from gross architectural features that would be immediately apparent to precise measurements that would require sophisticated instruments to detect. This layered approach to information encoding ensures that the message could be partially understood by civilizations with varying levels of technological sophistication, while reserving the most detailed information for those capable of precision measurement and mathematical analysis. The pyramid's location on the Earth's surface may also be significant for deep-time communication. The structure sits at the intersection of the longest lines of longitude and latitude that cross only land, making it the geographic center of the Earth's continental land masses. This position ensures maximum accessibility to any global civilization, while also encoding geographical information that demonstrates sophisticated understanding of the Earth's dimensions and continental distribution. The electromagnetic properties of the pyramid's materials add another layer to its potential function as a communication device. The granite used in the king's chamber contains high concentrations of quartz crystals that generate piezoelectric fields when subjected to mechanical stress. These fields could potentially be detected by any civilization possessing electromagnetic sensors, creating a kind of electrical signature that would distinguish the pyramid from natural rock formations. Recent research has revealed that the pyramid's electromagnetic properties may be even more sophisticated than simple piezoelectric effects. The structure appears to function as a resonance chamber that can amplify and focus electromagnetic fields at specific frequencies. This capability could potentially be used for long-range communication, creating electromagnetic signals that could be detected across vast distances by any civilization possessing appropriate receiving equipment. The acoustic properties of the pyramid represent yet another communication channel that could function across geological timescales. The resonance frequencies generated by the pyramid's chambers correspond to fundamental physical constants and natural frequencies that would be recognizable to any civilization that had developed acoustic science. The specific frequencies produced by the king's chamber, the acoustic dampening of the queen's chamber, and the selective filtering of the Grand Gallery create a kind of acoustic signature that could serve as a recognition signal for technologically advanced civilizations. The integration of multiple communication channels, mathematical encoding, astronomical alignments, geometric relationships, electromagnetic properties, and acoustic signatures creates a redundant messaging system that ensures the pyramid's information content could be detected and decoded by civilizations with various technological capabilities and scientific traditions. This redundancy is a crucial principle of effective deep-time communication, ensuring that the message would not be lost due to limitations in any single detection or analysis method. The content of the pyramid's message, assuming it was intended as deep-time communication, appears to focus on fundamental scientific knowledge rather than cultural or historical information. The mathematical constants, physical relationships, and astronomical data encoded in the structure represent universal truths that would remain valid and important regardless of when they were discovered. This suggests that the pyramid's builders understood the principle that scientific knowledge represents the most durable and universally valuable type of information for deep time preservation. The pyramid may also encode warning messages about cyclical catastrophes that affect Earth on geological timescales. The astronomical alignments that point backward in time to around 10,500 BCE correspond to the end of the last ice age, a period of dramatic climate change and mass extinctions. If the pyramid's builders possessed knowledge of these cyclical catastrophes, they might have encoded warning information about future catastrophic events and methods for surviving them. The sophisticated engineering knowledge demonstrated in the pyramid's construction could itself represent part of the preserved message. The techniques required to quarry, transport, and precisely position multi-ton stone blocks represent technological knowledge that could prove crucial for any civilization faced with large-scale construction challenges. The preservation of this engineering knowledge in permanent form could serve as a technological library for future civilizations. The pyramid's design as an initiation chamber and consciousness alteration device might represent preservation of knowledge about human potential and consciousness development. If the structure was designed to facilitate transcendent experiences and expanded awareness, it could serve as a permanent repository of knowledge about consciousness technologies that might be rediscovered by future civilizations facing similar challenges in human development. Modern attempts at deep-time communication have drawn inspiration from the pyramid's design principles. The waste isolation pilot plant in New Mexico, designed to store nuclear waste for 10,000 years, incorporates many of the same communication strategies found in the pyramid. The facility uses massive stone markers, geometric symbols, multiple redundant warning systems, and astronomical alignments to communicate danger to future civilizations that might discover the site. Scientists designing messages for potential extraterrestrial civilizations have also adopted pyramid-inspired communication strategies. The plaques placed on the Pioneer and Voyager spacecraft use mathematical and astronomical symbols to communicate information about human civilization. The Arecibo message transmitted toward the Hercules cluster used mathematical and geometric principles to encode information about human knowledge and capabilities. These modern examples of deep-time communication demonstrate both the effectiveness of the pyramid's design principles and the challenges inherent in communicating across vast temporal and cultural distances. Despite our advanced understanding of communication theory and materials science, modern attempts at deep-time messaging have not achieved the elegance and comprehensiveness of the pyramid's integrated communication system. The pyramid's success as a deep-time communication device is demonstrated by its continued ability to attract attention and provoke investigation after more than 4 millennia. Each generation of researchers has found new layers of meaning and information encoded in the structure, suggesting that its message remains relevant and comprehensible across vast cultural and technological changes. This longevity of meaning represents the ultimate test of effective deep-time communication. Recent developments in artificial intelligence and machine learning have opened new possibilities for decoding the pyramid's message. Computer analysis of the structure's mathematical relationships has revealed patterns and correlations that were invisible to previous generations of researchers. As our analytical capabilities continue to advance, we may discover that the pyramid contains information that we are only now becoming sophisticated enough to understand. The possibility that the pyramid was designed by a civilization more advanced than our own raises intriguing questions about the direction of technological development. If the structure represents communication from a past civilization that achieved greater technological sophistication than we currently possess, it might contain information about future developments in science and technology. The mathematical and physical relationships encoded in the pyramid might represent knowledge that we have yet to discover or rediscover. The pyramid's potential function as deep-time communication also raises questions about the cyclical nature of civilization and knowledge. If the structure preserves information from a previous cycle of human development, it might serve as a bridge connecting past and future cycles of civilization. The knowledge encoded in permanent stone form could provide continuity across periods of civilizational collapse and renewal, ensuring that crucial information survives dark ages and catastrophic events. The integration of consciousness-altering technologies with information preservation suggests that the pyramid might represent a communication system that operates on multiple levels of human awareness. The mathematical and scientific information encoded in the structure's dimensions might be accessible to rational analysis, while the consciousness effects created by the pyramid's acoustic and electromagnetic properties might provide access to other types of knowledge that transcend purely intellectual understanding. As we continue to study the pyramid and develop new technologies for deep-time communication, we may discover that this ancient monument represents the most sophisticated information preservation system ever created. Its integration of multiple communication channels, its encoding of universal scientific principles, its massive scale and permanent construction, and its continued relevance across millennia suggest that its builders achieved a level of success in deep-time communication that we are still striving to equal. The pyramid stands as both monument and message, preserving knowledge from the past while pointing toward possibilities for the future. Whether its message originates from advanced human civilization, extraterrestrial contact, or sources beyond our current understanding, it demonstrates principles of communication that transcend the boundaries of time, culture, and possibly species. In our continuing efforts to decode its message, we may discover not just information about the past, but guidance for our own future development and our own attempts to communicate across the vast distances of space and time. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the first light touches the ancient stones of the Great Pyramid, we find ourselves standing at the intersection of mystery and knowledge, between the comfortable certainty of accepted facts and the uncomfortable possibilities that challenge everything we think we know about our past. The pyramid forces us to confront fundamental questions about the nature of evidence, the limits of current knowledge, and the difference between healthy skepticism and rigid dogma. The study of the Great Pyramid presents us with a unique challenge in the modern world of scientific inquiry. Here is a structure that demonstrates mathematical precision beyond what should have been possible for its era, astronomical alignments that suggest knowledge of cosmic cycles spanning millennia, construction techniques that remain mysterious despite centuries of investigation, and acoustic and electromagnetic properties that seem designed with an understanding of physics principles that were supposedly unknown to ancient civilizations. These anomalies force us to examine the foundations of our historical and scientific understanding. How do we evaluate evidence that challenges established timelines and accepted capabilities of ancient civilizations? How do we distinguish between legitimate scientific inquiry and unfounded speculation? How do we maintain intellectual honesty while exploring possibilities that seem to stretch the boundaries of conventional knowledge? The academic establishment has largely responded to pyramid mysteries with a stance that prioritizes conventional explanations over anomalous evidence. This approach, while understandable from the perspective of maintaining scientific rigor, often results in the dismissal of evidence that doesn't fit established paradigms rather than the modification of paradigms to accommodate new evidence. The result is a situation where the most extraordinary aspects of the pyramid are either ignored or explained away through increasingly complex conventional theories that often require assumptions that are as extraordinary as the alternative explanations they seek to replace. The conventional explanation for the pyramid's mathematical precision, for example, suggests that the incorporation of pi and the golden ratio in the structure's proportions was purely accidental, a fortunate coincidence that arose from practical construction considerations rather than intentional mathematical design. This explanation requires us to believe that ancient builders achieved mathematical relationships that eluded formal mathematics for thousands of years through pure chance, a proposition that becomes increasingly unlikely as the number of mathematical coincidences in the pyramid continues to mount. Similarly, the conventional explanation for the pyramid's astronomical alignments suggests that the precise, stellar orientations of the internal shafts were designed for religious rather than practical purposes, intended to help the pharaoh's soul navigate to the afterlife among the stars. While this explanation preserves the accepted timeline of Egyptian civilization, it fails to account for the extraordinary precision of these alignments or the sophisticated understanding of precession and long-term stellar motion that they demonstrate. The academic reluctance to consider alternative explanations for pyramid anomalies reflects a broader challenge in scientific inquiry. The tension between maintaining scientific rigor and remaining open to paradigm-shifting discoveries. The history of science is filled with examples of revolutionary discoveries that were initially rejected by the scientific establishment because they challenged accepted understanding. From Galileo's support of heliocentrism to Wegener's theory of continental drift, scientific progress has often required overcoming institutional resistance to ideas that seemed impossible within existing paradigms. The pyramid presents us with evidence that suggests either our understanding of ancient capabilities is incomplete or our assumptions about the isolation of ancient civilizations are incorrect. Either possibility requires significant revision of established historical and archaeological paradigms, a process that academic institutions are naturally reluctant to undertake without overwhelming evidence. However, the threshold for what constitutes overwhelming evidence may be set so high that paradigm-shifting discoveries are automatically excluded from consideration. The challenge becomes even more complex when we consider explanations that invoke possibilities beyond conventional historical frameworks. The ancient astronaut hypothesis, which suggests that pyramid construction involved assistance from extraterrestrial civilizations, represents the kind of explanation that academic institutions are particularly reluctant to consider. This reluctance is understandable given the extraordinary nature of such claims and the lack of definitive evidence for extraterrestrial contact in the historical record. However, the automatic dismissal of unconventional explanations may reflect a form of intellectual bias that limits our ability to evaluate evidence objectively. The absence of evidence for extraterrestrial contact in the historical record may simply reflect our inability to recognize such evidence or our unwillingness to consider interpretations of existing evidence that challenge our assumptions about the nature of human civilization and our place in the universe. The alternative explanation that attributes pyramid construction to a lost advanced human civilization presents its own challenges to established paradigms while avoiding the extraordinary claims associated with extraterrestrial contact. This hypothesis suggests that human civilization has experienced cycles of rise and decline, with periods of technological advancement that exceeded our current capabilities, followed by catastrophic collapse that erased most evidence of these achievements. The lost civilization hypothesis finds support in geological evidence for global catastrophes that occurred at the end of the last ice age, archaeological discoveries that push back the timeline of human technological development, and mythological traditions from around the world that describe previous cycles of civilization destroyed by flood and fire. However, accepting this explanation requires abandoning the linear model of human progress that underlies most current historical and archaeological thinking. The evaluation of these alternative explanations is complicated by the fact that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but the definition of what constitutes extraordinary evidence is itself subject to interpretation. The mathematical precision of the pyramid's construction, the sophistication of its astronomical alignments, and the complexity of its acoustic and electromagnetic properties all represent extraordinary evidence by any reasonable standard. The question becomes whether this evidence is extraordinary enough to justify consideration of extraordinary explanations. One approach to this dilemma is to focus on the evidence itself rather than the explanations that might account for it. By carefully documenting and analyzing the anomalous properties of the pyramid without committing to specific explanations for these properties, researchers can build a foundation of empirical data that future investigators can use to develop and test new theoretical frameworks. This empirical approach has led to numerous discoveries about the pyramid's properties that were unknown to previous generations of researchers. The detection of the Great Void using muon tomography, the measurement of electromagnetic fields within the pyramid's chambers, the analysis of acoustic properties that suggest sophisticated sound engineering, all represent advances in our understanding of the pyramid's physical properties that were achieved through careful measurement and analysis rather than theoretical speculation. The accumulation of empirical data about the pyramid's anomalous properties creates a growing challenge to conventional explanations that becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. As the number of sophisticated features discovered in the pyramid continues to grow, the conventional explanation that attributes these features to accident, coincidence, or primitive religious symbolism becomes increasingly strained. The challenge for future pyramid research lies in developing new theoretical frameworks that can account for the full range of anomalous evidence while maintaining scientific rigor and intellectual honesty. This may require abandoning some cherished assumptions about ancient capabilities and historical timelines, while being careful not to abandon the critical thinking skills that distinguish legitimate scientific inquiry from unfounded speculation. One promising approach involves applying advanced analytical techniques to pyramid research while maintaining strict standards for evidence evaluation. Computer modeling of the pyramid's construction techniques, spectroscopic analysis of its materials, detailed measurement of its acoustic and electromagnetic properties, and systematic comparison with similar structures worldwide can provide increasingly precise data about the pyramid's actual capabilities and construction methods. Another important approach involves expanding the scope of pyramid research to include interdisciplinary collaboration between archaeologists, engineers, physicists, mathematicians, astronomers, and consciousness researchers. The pyramid's anomalous properties span multiple scientific disciplines, and understanding these properties may require expertise that transcends traditional academic boundaries. The study of indigenous knowledge traditions may also provide insights into ancient capabilities that have been overlooked by conventional archaeology. Many indigenous cultures preserve oral traditions that describe advanced technologies and sophisticated knowledge systems that existed in the distant past. While these traditions are often dismissed as mythology by academic researchers, they may contain important information about human capabilities that predated recorded history. The challenge of distinguishing between legitimate inquiry and unfounded speculation becomes particularly acute when dealing with consciousness-related aspects of pyramid research. The pyramid's acoustic and electromagnetic properties appear designed to affect human consciousness in specific ways, creating altered states of awareness that could facilitate transcendent experiences or enhanced cognitive function. Research into consciousness effects presents unique methodological challenges because the phenomena being studied are subjective and difficult to measure using conventional scientific instruments. However, advances in neuroscience and consciousness research are beginning to provide objective measures for subjective experiences, making it possible to study consciousness effects with increasing scientific rigor. The application of modern neuroscience techniques to pyramid research has revealed measurable effects on brain activity in subjects exposed to the pyramid's acoustic and electromagnetic environments. EEG studies have documented changes in brainwave patterns that correspond to altered states of consciousness, while fMRI studies have revealed changes in neural activity that correlate with reports of transcendent experiences. These findings suggest that the pyramid's consciousness effects are real and measurable phenomena rather than purely subjective experiences or wishful thinking. However, the interpretation of these effects remains controversial, with some researchers arguing that they represent evidence of ancient consciousness technologies, while others suggest they result from natural physical processes that were not intentionally designed by the pyramid's builders. The resolution of this controversy may require a more sophisticated understanding of the relationship between consciousness and physical environment than currently exists in mainstream science. Research into bioelectromagnetism, acoustic neurology, and environmental effects on consciousness may eventually provide the theoretical framework needed to understand how the pyramid's physical properties affect human awareness. The challenge of maintaining intellectual honesty while exploring unconventional possibilities requires a careful balance between open-mindedness and critical thinking. This balance involves being willing to consider explanations that challenge established paradigms while maintaining rigorous standards for evidence evaluation and logical reasoning. One important principle for maintaining this balance is the distinction between possibility and probability. While extraordinary explanations for pyramid anomalies may be possible, the evaluation of their probability requires careful consideration of all available evidence and the relative likelihood of different explanations. Extraordinary claims should be held to higher standards of evidence, but they should not be automatically dismissed without consideration. Another important principle involves the recognition that current knowledge is incomplete and subject to revision based on new evidence and improved understanding. The history of science demonstrates that many ideas that seemed impossible within existing paradigms were later shown to be correct when viewed from more advanced theoretical frameworks. The study of the Great Pyramid offers unique opportunities for advancing our understanding of ancient capabilities, consciousness effects, deep time communication, and the relationship between matter and mind. However, realizing these opportunities requires maintaining a delicate balance between scientific rigor and intellectual openness, between healthy skepticism and dogmatic rejection of unconventional possibilities. The pyramid's message, whatever it may ultimately prove to be, challenges us to expand our understanding of human potential and cosmic possibilities while maintaining our commitment to truth and intellectual honesty. This challenge requires us to develop new approaches to scientific inquiry that can accommodate anomalous evidence without abandoning critical thinking, that can explore extraordinary possibilities without losing sight of empirical reality. As we continue to study the pyramid and uncover new layers of its mystery, we may discover that the structure's greatest teaching is not about ancient civilizations or extraterrestrial contact, but about the nature of knowledge itself and the importance of maintaining both intellectual humility and scientific courage in the face of the unknown. The pyramid stands as a monument to the power of human curiosity and the importance of asking questions that challenge our assumptions about reality. Whether its origins lie in advanced human civilization, extraterrestrial contact, or sources beyond our current understanding, it reminds us that the universe is far more mysterious and wonderful than our current knowledge suggests. In our continuing investigation of the pyramid's secrets, we have the opportunity to participate in one of humanity's greatest intellectual adventures, the quest to understand our place in the cosmos and the true extent of consciousness and intelligence in the universe. This quest requires both scientific rigor and spiritual openness, both critical analysis and intuitive insight, both respect for evidence and willingness to consider possibilities that transcend current paradigms. The pyramid's ultimate message may be that the greatest discoveries await those who can maintain this delicate balance between belief and inquiry, between the known and the unknown, between the comfortable certainties of accepted knowledge and the challenging possibilities that lie beyond the boundaries of current understanding. In learning to navigate this territory with both wisdom and wonder, we may discover not just the secrets of the pyramid, but the keys to our own evolutionary potential and cosmic destiny. The desert wind carries whispers across the Giza plateau as another day draws to its close. The sun, that same celestial timekeeper that guided the pyramid's ancient builders, begins its descent toward the western horizon, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers reaching across the sand toward the timeless monument that has watched over this landscape for over 4 millennia. As twilight deepens and the first stars emerge in the darkening sky, the Great Pyramid stands as it has always stood, silent, patient, eternal. Its limestone blocks, weathered by thousands of years of desert storms, still hold their secrets close. Its internal chambers, sealed in darkness and silence, continue their eternal vigil. Its precise angles and mathematical relationships remain as perfect today as they were when the last stone was placed by hands that have long since returned to dust. In this moment of transition between day and night, between the visible and the hidden, between the known and the unknowable, we find ourselves face to face with one of humanity's greatest mysteries. The pyramid asks us no direct questions, makes no obvious demands, offers no simple answers. Instead, it communicates through the universal languages of geometry and astronomy, mathematics and resonance, proportion and harmony. Its message is written not in words that could become obsolete or symbols that could lose their meaning, but in relationships that reflect the fundamental patterns of existence itself. Throughout our journey into the pyramid's mysteries, we have encountered evidence that challenges our most basic assumptions about the past. We have seen mathematical precision that seems impossible for the supposed era of construction, astronomical alignments that demonstrate knowledge of cosmic cycles spanning millennia, acoustic and electromagnetic properties that suggest understanding of physics principles that were supposedly unknown to ancient civilizations, and construction techniques that remain mysterious despite centuries of investigation. We have explored the possibility that this monument represents more than just a tomb or temple, that it might function as a machine designed for purposes we are only beginning to understand. We have considered the evidence that suggests its builders possessed knowledge that transcends the conventional timeline of human technological development. We have examined the global network of similar structures that suggests either widespread ancient contact or access to a common source of advanced knowledge. We have contemplated the pyramid as a form of deep time communication, a message encoded in permanent materials using universal languages that could remain comprehensible across vast periods of time and cultural change. We have wrestled with the challenge of maintaining scientific rigor while remaining open to possibilities that challenge established paradigms. We have stood at the boundary between belief and inquiry, between the comfortable certainties of accepted knowledge and the uncomfortable possibilities that lie beyond current understanding. Through it all, the pyramid has remained what it has always been, a monument to human aspiration and cosmic connection, a bridge between earth and heaven, matter and spirit, the known and the unknowable. Its silence speaks more eloquently than any written text could, its presence more powerfully than any argument could. It stands as proof that consciousness and intelligence, whether human or otherwise, once achieved levels of sophistication that we are still striving to understand. The pyramid's true message may not lie in any specific information that can be decoded from its dimensions or extracted from its chambers. Instead, its message may be found in the questions it raises, the wonder it inspires, the humility it demands in the face of ancient achievements that exceed our current capabilities. It reminds us that the story of intelligence and consciousness in the universe is far more complex and mysterious than our current knowledge suggests. In our age of rapid technological advancement and expanding scientific knowledge, it is easy to assume that we represent the pinnacle of human achievement, that our civilization possesses capabilities that far exceed anything that came before. The pyramid challenges this assumption by demonstrating that sophistication can take forms we do not yet understand, that intelligence can express itself through means we have not yet learned to recognize, that consciousness can interact with matter in ways that our current science is only beginning to explore. The pyramid teaches us that mystery is not the enemy of knowledge but its greatest teacher. Each question answered leads to deeper questions. Each secret revealed points toward greater secrets. Each level of understanding achieved opens new levels of mystery to explore. The pyramid's silence does not represent the absence of communication, but the most profound form of communication possible, the kind that transforms the questioner rather than simply providing answers. As we stand in the shadow of this ancient monument, we are reminded that we are part of a story that began long before recorded history and will continue long after our current civilization has passed into memory. We are participants in an ongoing dialogue between consciousness and cosmos, between intelligence and matter, between the known and the unknowable that has been unfolding for millennia and will continue for millennia to come. The pyramid's builders, whoever they were, understood something fundamental about the nature of this dialogue. They created a monument that speaks across time, not through words that could become obsolete, but through relationships that reflect eternal truths. They encoded their message not in symbols that could lose their meaning, but in proportions that mirror the fundamental patterns of existence. They built not just for their own time, but for all time, creating a communication that becomes more rather than less relevant as human knowledge and capability advance. Each generation that encounters the pyramid discovers new layers of meaning and significance within its ancient stones. The mathematical relationships that seemed coincidental to earlier investigators are revealed as intentional design elements when examined with more sophisticated analytical tools. The acoustic properties that were unknown to previous centuries are discovered to create measurable effects on human consciousness. The electromagnetic characteristics that could not be detected with earlier instruments are found to suggest sophisticated understanding of bioelectromagnetic principles. This progressive revelation suggests that the pyramid was designed to reveal its secrets gradually as human knowledge and technology advance to the point where these secrets can be understood and appreciated. The monument serves as a kind of time-release capsule, encoded with multiple layers of information that become accessible as human civilization develops the tools and concepts necessary to decode them. The pyramid's patience is perhaps its most remarkable characteristic. Unlike human communications that demand immediate attention and understanding, the pyramid is content to wait. It has waited through the rise and fall of empires, through dark ages and renaissances, through periods when its very existence was forgotten and periods when it attracted pilgrims from around the world. It continues to wait, knowing that each generation will discover what it is ready to discover, will understand what it is prepared to understand. This patience reflects a profound understanding of the nature of consciousness and learning. The pyramid's builders understood that the most important communications cannot be forced or hurried, that wisdom must be earned through sincere inquiry and dedication to truth. They created a monument that rewards patience, careful observation, and genuine scientific investigation while remaining silent to those who approach it with predetermined conclusions or superficial curiosity. The pyramid's message unfolds not through passive reading but through active engagement, not through casual observation but through dedicated investigation, not through theoretical speculation but through empirical measurement and analysis. It demands the best of human intelligence and scientific capability while remaining accessible to anyone willing to approach it with genuine wonder and intellectual humility. As our understanding of consciousness, physics, and ancient history continues to evolve, we may discover that the pyramid contains information that we are only now becoming sophisticated enough to understand. The relationships between consciousness and electromagnetic fields, the effects of specific acoustic frequencies on human awareness, the connections between geometric proportions and cosmic cycles all represent areas of research that are revealing new depths of the pyramid's sophistication. The pyramid may ultimately prove to be a kind of multi-dimensional textbook that preserves knowledge spanning multiple scientific disciplines and levels of understanding. Its mathematical relationships encode fundamental constants and geometric principles. Its astronomical alignments preserve knowledge of cosmic cycles and stellar movements. Its acoustic properties demonstrate sophisticated understanding of sound engineering and its effects on consciousness. Its electromagnetic characteristics suggest knowledge of bioelectromagnetic principles and their applications. This integration of multiple knowledge domains within a single structure represents an approach to information preservation that exceeds anything achieved by contemporary civilization. While we tend to compartmentalize knowledge into separate academic disciplines, the pyramid integrates mathematical, astronomical, acoustic, electromagnetic, and consciousness-related information into a unified whole that demonstrates the interconnected nature of all knowledge. The pyramid's silent teaching may be that true wisdom lies not in the accumulation of isolated facts, but in the understanding of relationships and connections that unite all aspects of reality. It demonstrates that consciousness and matter, mind and universe, human intelligence and cosmic intelligence are not separate phenomena, but different aspects of a unified whole that can be understood only through integration of multiple perspectives and approaches. In our continuing study of the pyramid and other ancient monuments, we may discover that our ancestors possessed not just sophisticated technical knowledge, but profound wisdom about the nature of consciousness, the structure of reality, and humanity's place in the cosmic order. This wisdom may have been preserved not just in written texts and oral traditions, but in permanent monuments that serve as libraries of consciousness, repositories of knowledge that remain accessible to those who approach them with the proper combination of scientific rigor and spiritual openness. The pyramid stands as a reminder that the greatest achievements of consciousness may not be technological devices or scientific theories, but the integration of knowledge and wisdom that allows intelligence to express itself through harmony with natural law and cosmic principle. Its builders achieved a synthesis of practical engineering skill and transcendent vision that created something greater than the sum of its parts, a monument that continues to inspire and teach long after its creators have passed beyond memory. As we prepare to leave the pyramid's presence and return to our ordinary concerns, we carry with us not just information about ancient achievements, but a transformed understanding of human potential and cosmic possibility. The pyramid's silent message has touched something deep within us, awakening possibilities we did not know we possessed, raising questions we had never thought to ask, opening doorways to mysteries we had never imagined. The desert wind continues its eternal song across the ancient stones, carrying whispers of secrets yet to be discovered, mysteries yet to be unraveled, wonders yet to be revealed. The pyramid maintains its patient vigil, knowing that each dawn brings new seekers, new questions, new opportunities for revelation and understanding. In the gathering darkness, as the stars emerge to map the same celestial patterns that guided the pyramid's construction, we realize that we have been participants in an ancient dialogue that connects us not just to our human ancestors, but to the intelligence and consciousness that permeates the universe itself. The pyramid's message is ultimately not about the past, but about the eternal present, not about who built it, but about who we might become, not about ancient aliens or lost civilizations, but about the infinite potential that lies dormant within consciousness itself, waiting to be awakened by those brave enough to listen to the silent wisdom written in stone and starlight.